It. I'm your host, Sergeant Eric Levine. Before we get started, here's a quick disclaimer. The views and opinions you're about to hear are those of the hosts and guests alone. They don't represent any police department, agency, sponsor, or employer. Two Cops, One Donut isn't responsible for anything said by guests or for any videos, clips, or content shown during the live stream. This show is intended for adult audiences only. We cover real incidents, we show graphic and sometimes disturbing footage, and we don't shy away from strong language or adult conversations. There may or may not also be alcohol involved. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. Everything you hear or see on the show is for entertainment and educational purposes. It is not legal advice, and it's not tactical instruction, and it shouldn't be used for such. By continuing to watch, you're telling us that you understand, you accept all this. All right, now let's get into it. All right, welcome back. Two Cops, One Donut. I am your host, Eric Levine. Today I have with me my co-host, my ginger buddy, Banning Sweatland, and I've got the one, the only, Force Science poster boy, the Von Kliem. What's up, brother?
What's going on? Let me tell you what, we've got a handful of poster boys at Force Science right now. We got a Mike Masengo, we got a Nicole Florisi, we got Craig Allen, we got Derek Cruz, and we got Brian Baxter, and of course the Dr. Lewinsky himself. So
listen,
thanks for giving me that title tonight. Since I'm the only one here, I'll take it. But got an amazing team over there working right now.
Yeah, it's not a slam to them. It's more of when I think of Force Science, I think of Vaughn. So
oh no, I'm required to read that whenever somebody says it. So
nice.
No, it's a great team over there. So I hope they're watching right now. They're all laughing with me.
Love it. So I'm back home, y'all. I'm officially out of the military orders. So I made it. It was about a month long, most of March. Couldn't have a real podcast, so I didn't want to invite any real guests on there because I was worried with the shoddy Wi-Fi that I had. It wouldn't have been fair to anybody I asked to take time away from their day to come on there just to constantly be getting booted off the internet and all that stuff. So, but I did my time like a prisoner, did my time. All the Iran stuff definitely made it crazy. It was not a normal tour for me, but I made the best of it like I would with anything else. So now we're back, and Banning's been chomping at the bit to get on here. Banning, what have you been up to, buddy?
Just working hard, man. Working real hard. Hoping here in less than a month I'll have a better picturesque face for whatever a better picture can do. So we'll see how that goes. Better camera.
I like it. Banning's been busting his ass on the keto. Carnivore.
Carnivore.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, full carnivore, and did a 72-hour fast, which I suggest. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. You can do it through your doctor, but suggest anybody that can handle 72 hours of just electrolyte water. It's an experience. It's good stuff.
Yep. So let me see. What other news have we got? Not a lot. I was out of it, so I couldn't really do anything to progress Two Cops, One Donut. This wasn't a whole lot going on. It was just a stale month. And for those that did pop on while I was doing some live streams from my phone or from my iPad, I appreciate it. We tried to do something. I just didn't want to inconvenience anybody else. Like having Vaughn on, that would have sucked if he'd have jumped on and spent his night and just to be kicked off often because the internet sucks. So.
And it wouldn't have been because of Vaughn's internet that time. It would have been
it would have been the government's internet. So let's look over at the chat, shall we? We do have, I got to say it first, Vaughn. Vaughn, I won't say his name. We haven't discussed him yet tonight. What name am I thinking in my head?
Oh, I hope it's Mr. Billfold.
He's on. He is on. See, Mr. B, I didn't even have to say your name. He knew you. He's going to have that in his memory for the rest of his life right there.
I see one of them popped up there, said something about the lawyer who thinks you can take a traffic stop into a third party's home.
Is that?
I don't know, one of the comments. And I'm like, yeah, if the guy runs into somebody's house away from a traffic stop, you can absolutely chase him into that third party's house. That's not debatable. I don't think there's a lawyer out there who's going to say something different than that. So I will proudly count myself among the lawyers who think that if a bad guy runs into a third party's house, you get to chase them in.
That
But
makes sense to me.
let's assume it's not a misdemeanor that you're chasing them for, because there are certainly some jurisdictions that don't want you chasing bad guys for misdemeanors anymore. But you guys, we used to chase people in houses all the time, and we've already tested this in court over and over again, and we never got our drugs suppressed. We never got our arrests suppressed. So in that sense, it's not a close question. So I'm not sure. Happy to flesh that out with whatever that commenter thinks I said, because they all turn on a single fact. So maybe we're just not
Yeah,
agreeing.
I didn't see that one. But yeah, I'm sure we could definitely. That's the thing, guys. Vaughn isn't going to shy away from your questions, so that's part of the show. It's what we do. But I do want to give a shout out to Harrison. Harrison helping support the show, guys. Your money goes right into the show. It doesn't go into me or Banning's pockets. But he dropped 10 memberships. Oh, Banning, you weren't here. Guess who got a membership?
No, I don't know.
Blood got a membership. The
That's
YouTube
awesome.
gods finally opened up and they gave him a membership. It was unbelievable. Devil Pup said your live streams from the location you were in were fine on my end. Yeah, they didn't do bad. They didn't do bad out of the barracks, if that's what you want to got. Steve Wallace in the house. What's up, Steve? But it just wasn't worth the risk, because we did drop a couple times the first one, and I just didn't want to risk it after that. I was like, you know what, we'll just take it in stride and try to make the best of it.
King Slayer, nope. You said without chasing, you can move the stop into the house. Never job being a liar on the criticism. Well, if the question is, can you, without chasing someone, move your traffic stop into a third party's house? I don't know a circumstance where that is true. So if somebody thinks I said that, let's, give me the facts, because I would tend to agree with King Slayer. You cannot move a traffic stop into a third party's house uninvited.
Yeah.
That also is not a close question. So I hope I'm not on the record somewhere saying that. I certainly would not support my position if I did, nor do I think I actually said that. So
I don't remember. I don't recall that conversation. Maybe he's talking about something he saw on the internet on you, because you're all over the internet. So
yeah, well, I'm happy to do it, because I do glitch a lot. I might have said can not, and the not fell off. I can leave some room for that,
possibly.
But I don't want him running around thinking that I said you can chase people, because I'm sure I'll be cross-examined on that, and that certainly wouldn't be my position. The other guy asked, where was he? A Marine for sure says, can you use deadly force if two people jump you? You see that comment?
Yep, I got it up there right now. Peter the Pig, 6969, great name.
Yeah. So if you're going to ask that question like in court or in a real case, you got to ask, who are the people? How big are they? What's their physical size? It's all about vulnerability, right? So if the two people together put you in a position where you reasonably believe you're facing a threat of death or serious bodily injury, I mean, you're vulnerable, then the size matters, the numbers matter, whether you're injured, fatigue, you got to pull them into the deep waters and start going through all the totality of the circumstances. This came up in the case recently in Montana, where obviously if two children who count as persons are jumping you, you probably ought not shoot them, right?
Right.
Obviously that's a ridiculous example, but the people who like to testify against the police frequently will use the example of children or octogenarians or two people who are wheelchair bound. And I'm like, okay, what cop is shooting two wheelchair bound people who are attacking them? Like, where was that fact pattern? So they kind of go off to the extremes, but there are certainly examples, and we have cases right now where multiple suspects, grown adult males, attacking a single person, where you can make a strong argument it was justified to use deadly force.
Yeah. I think Kingslayer said you said it on the first live stream here. Kingslayer, here's my advice. Write out the whole thing. Don't just keep fragmenting points. It's going to make it impossible for us to even try to address that question or whatever it is you're saying that he talked about. None of us remember it. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, but context, Get the background. What was the story? What were we talking about? So we can fully articulate whatever point you're trying to accuse him of.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like we're going to violently agree because if he thinks that you can't just take a traffic stop into a third party's house, I also believe that. So we might be in agreement, which would be good. There was a cop that shot a man in a wheelchair at Walmart. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that was a crazy one. I remember that one.
Constitutional Country Girl. I don't mean to take over your podcast, but I'm loving these questions already. I want to get after it. Get after it. Country Girl says, I saw a video where a traffic stop was facilitated because someone asked for their cigarette out the window. Someone asked their cigarette for what crimes could that be? Well, I saw one. Obviously, there's a high profile one where that was part of the case. The cigarette itself is not the crime. The police can give lawful orders related to legitimate law enforcement purposes, like I don't want to be burned by that cigarette. And so they have to assume risk. Obviously, police let a lot of people smoke during traffic stops. They'll just take it, put it in the ashtray. But as soon as they start using the cigarette to either make you maintain distance, blow smoke in your face, try to burn you with it, or if they're agitated with a cigarette, we've got cases where officers had their eyes burned, hands burned. And so they simply say, hey, you need to put that cigarette out for me, or can you step out of the car, leave the cigarettes inside? And then it's just a lawful order. So if they disobey the lawful order, it doesn't mean the lawful order had anything to do, the cigarette was illegal. It's the fact that under those circumstances, he gave a lawful order that she refused to comply with. So it's usually just a misdemeanor city ticket for disobeying.
Gotcha. I'm looking over. We're also on Instagram Live right now, so I'm looking at a question that somebody asked. What are the exigent circumstances that would allow you to follow a fleeing suspect into a house? So I went down the ones that I remember off the top of my head: emergency aid, hot pursuit, destruction of evidence, prevent escape, and safety, like imminent danger, serious bodily injury, or death.
Yeah, there's a case called U.S. v. Santana. It's a Supreme Court case that says a person may not defeat an otherwise proper arrest by the expedient of running into a private residence. So if you initiate the arrest outside the car and they run inside a house, it's an invitation. It's a de facto invitation to follow them in and arrest them inside. There's other cases where the court has sort of narrowed it down in some jurisdictions where if it's a misdemeanor, they don't want you running into somebody's house over a misdemeanor. So fair enough. But I think that's a federal district. I don't recall that to be a Supreme Court distinction, but US v. Santana was the one I can remember off the top of my head that you cannot defeat an otherwise proper arrest by the expedient of running into a private residence, whether it's yours or someone else's.
So to clarify, Kingslayer said, when I asked about halo laws, when someone is filming a stop in their own home, you said you can move the traffic stop into the third party's home, then you can arrest because of legal entry.
No. I don't recognize that even as a concept. So so I think we agree. You cannot do that.
Okay. I was going to say, if anything, maybe it was just a miscommunication. We didn't understand the question. We misunderstood each other. I don't know. But yeah. Freeman said, Vaughn, I've been binging your testimonies on YouTube. I wish there were more videos out there. It's fascinating to me, and thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
You got a fan?
It's nonstop, right? We are a recession-proof industry. The worse things get, the better things get in terms of how much time we have to spend.
AI is not going to affect our job. It'll affect it in more work, but it's not going to affect our job. Speaking of AI, great new movie out with Chris Pratt called Mercy. The whole concept is the courts have become AI and there are no more humans. It was insane. I can see the technology going that way.
They already saw a little bit of that in California. I don't know if you realize they were using AI to do, if I think I remember right, it was basically post-arrest threat assessment, detention hearings, release, like parole release hearings to sort of assess the dangerousness. I'm like,
wow,
oh, we're getting closer.
Yeah. I mean, okay, let's have that discussion. AI in policing. If you want things to be fair and objective and not have a human bias in it, it's going to be a thing. It's going to be possible. But the problem is going to be the standard of measurement. How do you know?
Yep.
Yeah,
And
and
then there have to be enough checks and balance as well.
yeah, you can never take the human out, right? Garbage in, garbage out is obviously the AI mantra, but at the end of the day, AI is phenomenal at organization. Like, it will organize the information for you, but ultimately you have to validate that, and then you gotta assess your own judgment, because the prediction of it is, I mean, it's always an educated guess, right? Future
Right.
recidivism, depending on how much experience you have in life. I tell you, some of the most cynical people, the parole officers, the ones I worked as a parole investigator for a while, and they hold no illusions about rehabilitation. They're just like, how are you doing today? Like, let's just
Right.
focus on today.
Yeah.
I'm not going to predict, because everybody brings their own triggers and thresholds for when they're willing to break weak again.
Yeah. Yeah. Dwayne Wolf said on LinkedIn that AI has bias now, and you're not wrong. It fucking hallucinates.
That's Dwayne Wolf. Don't say Dwayne Wilson.
I didn't say Wilson. I said
Yes,
Wolf.
you did. I'll play it back. That's Dwayne Wolf.
Did I say Wilson?
Yeah, because I looked and I said, that's not Dwayne Wolf. Or that's Dwayne Wolf.
We'll see in the comments in a second.
That's
I
right.
can't play it back. We're live.
But do you know who Dwayne Wolf is?
Not off the top of my head, sir.
Yeah, he is one of the top use of force experts in the country. He is gracing us with his presence. He is.
Remember you telling me that he doesn't hold a candle to you, but he's
No,
he's
no,
good for your
no,
business.
no,
I remember
he's
you telling me
phenomenal.
that. Yeah.
Dwayne Wolf sits in a room and we all take notes. We just steal each other's ideas. He's fantastic. Yeah, I just saw him up at the International Law Enforcement Educators and Trainers Conference, and yeah, I'm a huge fan of Dwayne Wolf. So shout out.
Nice. I like it. Appreciate you being on, Mr. Wolf. I'm just going through the comments here, trying to keep up. We don't have Alan tonight, so I don't have anybody to filter for me.
Yeah, so Alan is headed to Texas Police Chiefs Conference, and I'm up here at Texas Public Safety Conference in Denton. I got Houston Gas sitting next to me. A lot of y'all got to meet him on previous podcasts. So if anybody's got any questions for Houston, he's also sitting over here.
Mr. Billfold asked if I covered the AI that got the identity wrong at the casino. I did not. So for those who don't know, there was an arrest that was made based solely off of AI's facial rec. And they have bad policy. This is one of the things with any new technology. It has to be backed by good policy before you should ever implement it. There was a big thing with body cameras when they first came out. Boston PD would not wear them. And it wasn't for the reasons people thought. They thought that Boston was refusing to wear them because they were out doing dirty things and they didn't want to get caught doing that. That wasn't the case. The case was the department wanted them to go out and wear them, and they didn't have any policy set in place yet. So what they were worried about is become an internal thing where they're on a witch hunt and trying to find any and all little violations for competitive edges to get moved up the ranks. And if you don't think cops do that shit, you'd be mistaken. So they were worried about policy before they implemented body cams. And I think that's smart. I think you should have good policy in place. So going over to the casino thing with the AI, where I'm at, any AI that's used, if you facial rec, for instance, if you're going to use facial rec, one of the policies that's in place that I think is phenomenal is that it's got to be attached to a case number. So it's got to be a part of a criminal investigation. Has to be done by a third party. Can't be done by the cops. It's got to be done by our analyst. You have to send the request in officially, so you can't do it on the fly, unless they're working. Then you can go knock on the door. Hey, I need this. This is really important. Can you do this case? But it's got to be attached to a case number. And then it doesn't matter if it's 1,000% thinking that this is the person. It is never PC for an arrest. It is an investigative tool to help lead you to more things that you will need to create your own PC. The video or the facial rec does not in itself count as PC for an arrest ever. Doesn't matter if it's 100%. So I think that that's very wise. Just like if you get a license plate reader hit that says, hey, this car has a warrant. It is your job to take that plate, run it through NCIC, and verify that the license plate reader was correct. You shouldn't be going after cars based just on the license plate reader hit.
And then once you find the car, you must verify again, make sure the 28 or the license plate is correct, and you're going to verify that before you even initiate a stop.
Correct. Yeah. So there is a ton of comments today, guys. I apologize if I can't catch up. Don't feel bad about sending your question a couple times.
You got a constitutional country girl following up with her question too. So while you're looking for the next one,
this one
country
right here,
girl, yeah, that ash from the back. I don't know about unlawfully search the car because I see that's a conclusion. I don't know why it was unlawful. It may have been, but the ash from the back car, I think if you've got courts in your jurisdiction that think that's littering, then you got PC for the stop. Reasonable suspicion, PC for the stop. I don't know that I've ever stopped anybody or seen a stop anywhere ever for ash out of the back, for flicking your ashtray. I've seen it for flicking the butt out.
Yeah.
People get pulled over and be like, hey, you can't be flipping that out, whatever. And usually they just have them, and they won't even have them pick it up. They're just like, look, you can't do that. But the first question is, are there jurisdictions where it's illegal to throw your butt out the window? Yeah, it's littering and it's reasonable suspicion for the stop. You can stop them, whether they're in a car or on foot. The ash itself, I mean, I don't think I would have got away with that in my jurisdiction. I don't know anybody who tried to do that, but apparently those officers were pretty comfortable that in their jurisdiction, they would get away with that for PC, which meant they probably had tried it and tested it and a court agreed with them.
Right.
As for what then made it illegal, I don't know the facts of the rest of the thing, but that's where you get into that. Just because you can doesn't mean you have to, right?
Yeah.
I don't say just because you can doesn't mean you should, because that's an ethics issue. That's individual discretion. But I do say frequently, hey guys, just because you can legally doesn't mean you have to. So let's start exercising some discretion and look at what the trade-offs might be.
Yeah.
And then you get into the whole, like, you get a car leaving a known drug house and you got no violations on it whatsoever. And all of a sudden he flicks his ash out the window and you're in a jurisdiction where that's illegal. And you're like, well, I've never stopped anybody before. Now I'm going to stop them for it. It's an objective test. As long as you're not stopping them based on a protected class or protected status, courts will be like, it's an objective test. And if you, as long as you had a violation, doesn't matter if you've never done it before, you get to stop them. All of this works against police community relations, clearly, right? It all looks bad. But there's a lot of part of the communities that are like, yeah, if you're going to get if you're going to get dope off the street and you did it based on an actual legal violation, even if you've never done it before, good for you. You're at least following the law and the process of the law. Other ones would be like, you can see the look on cops' faces like, are you kidding me? Like, really? This is what we're doing, is stopping cars for
yeah,
throwing your ashes out. But
yeah, I'm curious if people can see the chat. I just clicked a button and shit happened. Oh Lord. Stand by. I messed things up on my end. Keep answering questions there, Vaughn. You're helping me out. So
I got one on what it cited a case, and I don't know the case, so I'm trying to figure out what that is so I can answer intelligently. Some Gonzalez case.
There we go. I fixed it. One of the questions I got over on Instagram was, so the plate readers are not connected to NCIC. Yes, they are connected to NCIC, but they only update so many times a day. So it's not like where the NCIC, I don't even know how often NCIC gets updated. I would assume pretty regularly.
On add-on and removal, it's within 4 to 5 minutes, like of a stolen vehicle. It takes 4 to 5 minutes for the removal to be taken out. And then add-on, it also takes 4 to 5 minutes once a dispatcher enters a stolen item. We had to test that a few times because we were having major issues with it. And that's, a year and a half old. So I imagine it's any worse or better by now.
Yeah. So Johnny over on Instagram, yes, NCIC, it is connected. It just doesn't update as regularly for license plate readers and stuff like that. Kingslayer said, Baltimore cops got caught planting evidence on the body-worn camera when body cams first started. The PD said that the cops were just recreating where they found the drugs. I can tell you that I've done that. I've had that happen where I've had to literally lunge into a vehicle to prevent somebody from trying to reach for. I didn't know what it was at the time. It ended up being dope. I thought he was reaching for a gun. Grabbed it, pulled it away. We got him out. We got him handcuffed. And now I needed to photograph and explain where I found things. So I placed the dope back where it was located and then took a picture and said, that's where I originally saw it. That's how it happened. So that legitimately happens. I've done it. But Vaughn, you look like you had something to say on it.
No, I think it's right. You just have to be clear that that's what you did. You recreated it. So you can't take the photo and then try to claim in the court or in your affidavit that the photo indicates where it was located at the time of the stop. It's generally in the location. I had collected it based on, the need to preserve evidence. I put it back there to show the relative position, which is no different than if you described it. Well, where was it in the car? Well, it was kind of halfway under the seat, halfway not. So if you just put it back to where you best remember it and take a photo and then document that's what you did, that's all you're doing is the same thing as if you were using words to do it. You get in trouble where, like, there was a shooting case where the guy pulls the gun, gets shot, drops the gun, keeps running, and falls. Well, of course, the officer picks the gun up right away because he's not going to just leave the gun there. And then afterwards, he goes back and puts the gun back down on the ground. Well, of course, the media only shows him going back and putting the gun on the ground. So whether he was going to say that's where it was and I took a photo of it and I never touched it, well, that would be a problem. If all he was going to say was, well, this is where I picked it up from. And so I put it, after I secured him, I put it back to document precisely the distance from the body from where the gun had landed and just say that's what you're doing. But a lot of people will tell you, once you pick it up, just don't put it back. Don't do it. Don't try to recreate. It causes too many troubles. My position is, if you do that, note it. Note exactly why you did it, and that and that you had picked it up and moved it.
Absolutely. Trying to find a video real quick. I can't find it, but yeah. I like what you said there, Vaughn, too. Is that it's definitely something that you shouldn't do anymore. When we were doing it, body cams were brand new. All this stuff was new. It was just how you were trained. It was just one of the things they said, hey, well, if you're gonna grab it, make sure you take a picture of where you found it, the general area, but you have to annotate it in your report, just like you said.
Jerry's got a good point. Let's Jerry Engelhaupt. Why would you put it back? Took a picture first. Usually if it's crowded, it's the preservation of evidence, and in particular it's a weapon. There's other people around. You don't want the other passengers or the bystander, anybody to pick that up, move it, secure. I've seen, it depends on where you're working. I had a guy shoot at me one time, and while I was chasing him, he had thrown the gun. By the time I came back, because I wasn't going to slow down and stop to get the gun at that point, it was gone. And so we had to use our gang intel network to figure out who picked it up, where it went, and we ended up finding it again and getting the full story of who the girlfriends of the gang members came out and started destroying the evidence or seizing, taking the evidence, trying to hide the guns.
Yeah.
So that's one reason. If it's a crowded area, if it's just you and the suspect, there may not be a reason. It just may be you don't like running and leaving a gun on the ground.
Yeah.
Why would you put it back? You put it back again because sometimes the relative distance matters, and they're going to ask you anyway, and you're going to be allowed to describe it. And so putting it back and taking a photo of it just adds to your description. You just got to be clear that's what you did. But those would be some of the reasons why you would want to put it back.
Steve Pappy Pappenfuss said, back to hot pursuit. Lang versus California. SCOTUS agree that pursuit for misdemeanor DUI driver into a garage was a no-go. Okay.
Yeah, that was the misdemeanor. Yeah, there was another one, was a misdemeanor fight out in the front yard. Same thing. You don't like the misdemeanors. Do you know who Pappy is? Steve Pappenfuss?
I know the name. I just can't.
Yeah.
Listen, this is going to be a thing all night. You can say, hey, who's the lead singer for Zeppelin? I'm going to be like, I don't fucking know. As soon as you say the name, like, oh, yeah, I know now. I don't.
You guys are doing something right if you're bringing on Steve Pappy and Dwayne Wolf. Those are some heavy hitters. Steve is phenomenal. Pappy is
Well,
another phenomenal use of force. But you guys don't have him on your show. You guys have either one of those, and you guys will lose no steps. Those guys are fantastic.
they heard the poster boy was going to be on tonight.
But they're trying to fact check me. I bet if I look at my text, they're probably like, "You don't know what you're talking about."
That's awesome. Hey, we'd be more than happy to have him on the show. I'm down. Hey, if you vouch for him, I'm in. I mean, shit, we had you on with Mr. Billfold. Why wouldn't we have them on?
Oh, let him debate Mr. Billfold.
Oh, we could.
You don't get to stand alone on this show until you debate Mr. Billfold.
That would be
the filter.
I'm down. I'm down. I think that would be wonderful. It could be QI number 2. Could talk about qualified immunity the second time. Andy said, so now that's going to be the story every time cops plant evidence. Well, no, the problem is, Andy, it's not that cops can't plant evidence. Like that still could be a thing. I'm not taking that part away from you. However, there's cameras everywhere now. Cops are used to body cams now. Things have changed. The culture of policing has changed. A lot of things have changed. We're not quite as worried about certain things that we used to be worried about because the preservation of evidence and stuff like that, we can see a lot more. Our cameras catch a lot more. So I don't know. I'm not saying that that's going to be a story every time, but you also have to be able to prove it, show it. Like for me, my body cam showed me reaching in and grabbing this shit. You couldn't see what I was grabbing, but you could hear what was going on. And I said it. I said I had to get that stuff before they got it. I was like, they were trying to get to it. I said, so I'm going to go back. My body camera never stopped. I said, all right, now I'm going to go back, kind of take a general picture of where it was at, and then go from there. So it's, again, it's
he's not wrong. Look, that's something everybody has to realize. If you hire corrupt cops after the background investigation, after the polygraphs, after the drug screening, the psych evals, after all the interviews, if you get corrupt humans as cops, they can steal, they can lie, they can arrest innocent people. Cameras aren't going to stop it. You can get around the cameras, you can plant evidence, you can get witnesses to testify against people they know are innocent. All these things have happened throughout the history. And so never were we going to sit here and say there's some sort of magic way to prevent corrupt cops.
Yeah.
Because if you're corrupt, you're corrupt, you know, yep. And we've all seen it. I mean, one of my FTOs went to prison and needed to.
That explains a lot.
Yeah. And, you know, not to get into that's a story for another day, but he was actually a phenomenal FTO. He's a phenomenal trainer.
Yeah.
He just got himself jammed up in certain ways, and his answers to those problems were not the right answers. But he was
more of a do as I say, not as I do type of guy.
He was yeah. Well, he was better. Luckily for us, none of us knew what was going on. Because I was interviewed, I was like, who, what, did, when?
Yeah, that's a good story. Stick with that. Stick with it. I like that. All right. Country Girl said, speaking of body-worn cameras, that's either Mr. B or Marine Bloods. You guys got to specify when Marine Bloods and Mr. B are both on, like MB could be either one of those. But she said, I think there should be criminal charges for muting, tampering with evidence, no reason to do it. Except conspiring. If it's released, it is redacted to protect personal info. So I've addressed this before on here, but it's always a good topic. I agree. I think there's no excuse for muting body cams anymore. There may have been some good arguments when we first got them that we hadn't quite, worked out yet. Again, body cams are still technically kind of in their infancy as far as police work goes. We're still working out kinks and stuff like that. But no, you should not be muting body cameras. I think anything that needs to be redacted should be done by a team after the fact. So everything can be preserved as evidence if determined it needed to be. I don't think we should be muting anything.
The problems we're seeing, it's not really about the muting. Sometimes we're seeing these cameras that are muted. When these cases come in, you get a guy who's being shot at and he's facing like immediate threat, and they're focused on the threat, and like halfway through they will activate their camera, right? And you ask them, and most policies have that built in, right?
Right.
exigent circumstances, your primary focus is not to activate your camera. So a lot of them have automatic activation, right? You pull your gun from your holster, automatically activates. You turn on your overhead lights, automatically activates.
Yep.
And that's because your focus of attention, understandably so, is not going to be on administrative requirements. It's not policy requirements. It's survival. It's focusing on a threat. And it's gotten to be ridiculous. Like some of the arguments they make where somebody clearly tries to kill the officer is clearly responding to that, and they want to write them up and even terminate them or charge them criminally in some states for not activating their body cam prior to the engagement. The focus of attention, the multitasking or the task switching it's not realistic to expect any human to focus on that administrative requirement. So yeah, it should be encouraged. There should be a great explanation for when it doesn't happen. I think every politician, every time they're on duty, every one of them should have 24/7 surveillance on their phones, in their offices, listening to every conversation they have. And so these ones who are advancing the idea of cops need to have their body cams on at all time, need to be recording at all time, don't mute it. I'm like, great. We're pretty close to that now.
Yeah.
And the politicians who are engaged in these discussions need to be doing the same thing.
Amen, brother. Amen. I want to give a shout out to Cucumber. It looks like he upped his membership again. Appreciate that. He said, I'm taking diversion. Love it. But there was a comment. Kingslayer said, but you still think corrupt cops acting corruptly should have the benefit of the doubt when it comes to investigating them for their corrupt actions. I don't know who said that at all. I think everybody should have get the benefit of the doubt, period. But
the law kind of requires it, right?
Yeah, that too. I give everybody, I just follow where the facts lead me. However, you have seen us on the show countless times see corrupt behavior, and we condemn the corrupt behavior as it's developing in the body cam reviews that we're watching.
And just so everybody is aware, there's some body camera technology that is coming out and has been for the past couple of years. You have to go back to the department policies and procedures. So I'm not going to say the manufacturer's name of the body cameras, but there's some that are leading the game out there to where if your body camera is in a standby mode and you do get into a situation to where you're a little late activating that because either rounds down range or taking cover because you're taking on fire, and I'm talking some serious priority one stuff, you can depixelate some of that standby mode stuff on the camera and put it into an official recorded capacity to where you're getting, it's not quite 30 frames a second. What is it, Erica? Maybe 60 or 15 frames a second. It's less, but at least you're getting that visual path of what's going on. And they're getting better and better and better than that. As long as you leave it in a standby mode, they can actually go back and recover some of that.
Yeah. To Andy's question, he said, then why is it ever off? He's referring to body cameras. One, the tech isn't there yet for them to be 24/7, or for a whole shift even, which is weird because this is one thing I don't understand. Somehow these cameras are able to record stuff when it's allegedly not recording at all. And my battery will be damn near dead by the end of a 12-hour shift or 10-hour shift, and I wasn't recording the whole time. If you're recording the whole time, it drains the battery even faster.
Very fast.
So if you record the whole time, then the thing's lasting 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah, and it's the storage, right? That's what he says. It's not just the battery, but the storage of the video is what costs the agencies.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Not the cameras themselves, even the batteries. And so they don't want to record all of that. Now I think they'll get there someday for your entire shift. I don't know. And again, I'll probably be like anybody else. Once you have the police recording their entire shift, make sure our politicians are doing the same thing. It will be exhausting.
Yeah.
It's like being in front of an audience all day, every day, everything you say being publicly scrutinized. And we've seen that where they go back and they'll say, I guess you guys cuss on this. I'm not.
Fuck yeah, we do, Vaughn. Do it, buddy.
But you got a guy, he's by himself in the car and he's looking at, what the fuck is this guy doing? Yeah. Look at this fucking asshole, right? And nobody's hearing him. He's just like seeing a guy about kill somebody and his he's emoting, right? And then all of a sudden he gets on the radio, he gets professional again, but they'll back it up and they'll put that in to show that he had some bias and he was unprofessional, even though he said those words in his car by himself with no one around. You've got to remember you are 24/7 under scrutiny, and that is exhausting.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's like
And
constant public speaking.
I want to give a shout out to Craig. Craig dropped 10 memberships. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much. He said, dang, MB didn't get one. He got one. He didn't get one from you this time. So, but because he has a current membership, and you don't have to drink, but you can if you want. Let me see. Ario said, my biggest question is when courts say a reasonable person. What is a reasonable person? There's a lot of reasonable gun laws in states. Vaughn, that's a you question, buddy.
They don't, I mean, a reasonable, yeah, I can try to figure out the definition of reasonable person, but it's one of ordinary intelligence. But reasonable is objective in that it must be viewed through the lens of the person using force. If you're talking about force, the person using force with similar education, training, experience, and reasonable inferences, right? So you have to put yourself in that position and determine if you are similarly situated, does that decision fall within a range of reasonable options, which is basically partly described by the judgment of the jury and the court to make that determination. But it's understand there's reasonable people can disagree. There's not one singular reasonable person. It's just falls within a bucket of reasonableness. And it's usually someone of ordinary, it's of a sober, ordinary intelligence from the perspective of the person making a decision based on training, education, and experience. But it's an objective test with some subjective sort of filters on it.
Okay. There was another question. Andy said, I don't buy the excuses. Sorry. And I think he's referring to the body cameras not being able to be on 24/7. I'm not, brother, I'm not asking you to buy it as an excuse or whatever. I'm just telling you what it is. Just tech's not there yet. Just don't have the ability, and we don't have the money for the storage. I mean, where I'm at, we're talking 2,000 cops. 2,000 cops recording 24/7. Holy shit. And you're not just talking about that. You're talking about dash cameras. So now you got the dash cameras that are recording. So, and then it goes into, this is the other thing. Now the debate right now is cops holding data. So if my body cam is out there, because my body cam is going to be seeing license plates and all that other shit. If you don't think body cams can't read license plates, you're wrong. If you don't think that they're going to be able to take photos and videos of all of the stuff that they see on their body camera, and now they're holding all that 24-hour evidence or however long their shift is, a whole shift's worth of stuff. And people are already complaining about cops holding too much data. So you can't have both. That's going to be a problem. I'm with you. I wish they would be able to record the whole shift. That'd be wonderful. You do need the ability to shut it off. You got to have that ability. Because if I'm going to take a piss, you're not watching me take a piss. If I had a bad burrito that day, you definitely don't want to be in there with me. Don't get me wrong. I'm the type of guy, I'll leave the camera on. I'll make y'all suffer with me. Somebody's going to be auditing that video and going, oh my God, what in the hell did he eat?
And there's not even a Zoom function on it.
And I'm going to be Morgan Freeman narrating that whole thing. Oh, I had a burrito today. Shouldn't have had that burrito. So be careful what you ask for. Country Girl said, like our cell phones, always listening. Yeah, exactly. Andy said, I don't care about the cost. Yeah, you might not care. But I tell you what, there's a lot of citizens that would when they see the bill. They're going to be like, what are we paying for? Devil Pup said, how body cams work, the camera is technically on and capturing video, but it deletes the footage every 30 seconds unless the officer double taps and record. But I am not a body-worn camera expert, so I couldn't debate that. Why don't they do a mid-shift swap? Well, now you're talking about a body camera, you're going to have two. So each officer is going to have two. That's going to increase the cost. Everything's cost, guys. Everything is about money.
And I worked 12-hour shifts primarily, and there's a lot of times when I went on my lunch break, I was able to take that body camera off me, stick it in the charger in the car if we had a lot of calls that day, because I was doing so much recording, and I'd sit there and eat that burrito, like Eric was saying, in my car and let my friggin' camera get 30 minutes of battery tender just to be able to complete the shift.
Yep. And that's the other thing. The longer they go, like my body camera is kind of old. I mean, considering, but they degrade too. The battery degrades over time. So, Country Girl said, Andy, we the taxpayers for it. Taxpayers pay for it. Yeah, exactly. Let me see. What else do we got? We do want to get to some videos today. Do you have something you want me to point out, guys?
I was going to say, Marine Blood said, Eric, I do want to debate you on I believe it was running plates, on it, and I'll beat you in the debate or something like that. I mean, that we could maybe set that up for another time, but I think that'd be a fun debate.
Hell yeah. Why not? What do you want to debate on license plate readers? I'm always down. I love them. I think they're a great tool. Again, these tools have to be backed by good policy, checks and balances, because there's always going to be a cop that ruins it for everybody. Yep. So I already know stories of cops checking on their ex-girlfriends and checking on their ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend and stuff like that. They're out there. Mike Cucumber dropped $10 in the super chat. Let's get him on here. Let's see what he has to say. He said, I had a bonfire. Cop asked for ID. I refused. He never detained me. Let me walk into the house as he walked back to the patrol car. Thought Florida versus Jardines gave same 4A protections as being at home. So he asked for ID. You refused. He never detained you. So he can ask you. I'm not sure what does that seem like a question? Am I misreading that?
It was the bonfire on private property within a municipality that had a city ordinance against bonfire. They received a call. He's coming out, going to possibly issue a city ordinance violation for the bonfire. There's so many different scenarios that this could go through. We've got to know full picture where it's at, all that, before we can give you any type of valid answer on it.
Yeah, he's talking about the curtilage of the house. Florida v. Jardines was a drug sniffing case but it's not even probably the best one on point for what he's describing. The question, I think, is whether or not the Fourth Amendment protects your curtilage the same as it protects your house, and the general answer is yes, it does. And so they have to have consent, or they have to have an exigency, or there are a couple other exceptions, like the public safety exceptions, which would be an exigency, or a de facto invitation. So if you've turned your front porch or your house into an open party, it becomes almost a public place. So there's some arguments where if you have a house party and you got a lot of people coming and the police can come in as well. If anybody else can come in, then the police get to. Now you get to tell them to leave once they're there, but the initial entry may not be illegal. Coming onto your property, coming onto your curtilage, one of the biggest exceptions is if the police remain where the postman could remain, right? That's sort of the general rule. So if you have a sidewalk and they come up the sidewalk to your front door to knock on your front door, then there's not a Fourth Amendment violation. But if the police are just coming into your yard and you see them coming, and you open your door and say, hey, I don't want you at my house. I need you out of off my property. And they remain without any of those exceptions, that is actually a Fourth Amendment violation, because you've communicated to them that whatever implied consent they thought they had under the curtilage rule or under the postman rule, you just removed it, because consent can be revoked. So while there might be implied consent, there's express revocation of implied consent. So what we would tell people is, put the no trespassing, and this includes police, you may not walk up my driveway sign on your fence. And it sort of undercut or sort of expressed your expectation of privacy, and it removed the implied consent by expressly revoking it. So there's a lot there, but I think that's what he's focusing on. He had a bonfire in his front yard. Why could they come in there? Now, if there's an ongoing crime, that's the other exigency. You can enter a house without a warrant or curtilage without a warrant under exigent circumstances, which is you have reason to believe there'll be destruction of evidence, flight from the scene, or escape. So basically, it's weapons evidence and escape if that stuff is contraband, right? So you can legally have a gun. They can't come on and say, well, we thought you had a gun. But if you're smoking weed in your front yard, for example, and it's illegal to smoke weed in your jurisdiction, you don't get to sit there on the other side of your fence and be like, you can't come in here. They
Right.
they can come and enforce it. So the bonfire is a little trickier because I don't know, like Banning was talking about, is the bonfire illegal on its face? In which case they would have a real legitimate government interest in identifying the persons at the bonfire who are currently violating the law, and they can freeze the scene and say nobody move. Then you start asking for IDs. Some jurisdictions, when they demand the ID in investigations, you have to give it to them, or it's a separate crime. So a lot of your listeners might be in a jurisdiction where, no, I don't have to give them my ID. If you're in a jurisdiction where there's a state statute that says you must give an ID, a valid ID, upon demand of the police, or there's a penalty, a criminal penalty, well, then you do. It'd be a crime not to. Other ones say the police can demand it, but you don't have to give it. The penalty, not the penalty, but the consequences of not turning over your ID is that they can then extend the duration of the investigation. They can just keep you there until they ID you. And that's what some of the statutes will say, is they can keep you there for sufficient time to positively ID you. So that means they're going to talk to the neighbors. They're going to get booking photos if you've been booked in before. They're going to run driver's license examples. They're going to try to find ways to identify you. And because you refuse to identify yourself, you lose the right to complain about how long it took to do that. And then there's other ones that say they can demand it. You don't have to give it, in which case it's just stop, or I'll say stop again.
Yeah.
But you got to make sure you know which one of those jurisdictions you're in, because that is literally state by state, city by city.
Mike updated. He dropped another $10 in the super chat, so you didn't have to do that, but I appreciate you. Thank you very much. He said, got charged with obstruction, paid an attorney $3,000, didn't want to fight for me. Taking diversion, city did have permit requirements. Long story short, not worth fighting for your rights. Does that help you at all, Vaughn? Getting charged with obstruction?
Well, yeah, because it sounds like he was in a jurisdiction where he was required to turn it over, in which case failure to turn it over must have met their elements for obstruction. A lot of these things I wouldn't guess on because it's so jurisdiction dependent. So you learn your jurisdiction as a cop, and they'll say, well, if I demand ID from someone, they don't turn it over to me, it's likely been prosecuted thousands of times before successfully. And so, yeah, you would charge them with the relevant crime of interference or obstruction. A lot of times, though, for us, you might only get one of those charges if you lied about it. So not saying anything would be okay, but as soon as you lie about it, then it becomes interference or obstruction. And what you got to be very careful of is there's some jurisdictions as well. If I'm investigating a felony, but you don't know it, you think I'm investigating a misdemeanor, but I'm actually investigating a felony, and you engage in obstruction, it's felony obstruction. And so somebody's running from you because they think they're shoplifting. I am chasing you because I think you stole a car. That running would ultimately end up being classified by the nature of the crime being investigated, not the nature of the crime for which you're running, which I always thought was nonsense. But that's how it charged out.
Yeah, Mike dropped another $10 on us, and he said, I lost sleep, gone through an emotional roller coaster. Want to let people know, while there are theoretical arguments that can be made, reality is courts don't really care about that. And I will tell you, I've seen that in some courts, not my personal courts where I'm at, but in other states, I've seen that type of shit where they're small town courts. They don't get pressed by anybody ever, and they do kind of make up their own shit sometimes. I don't know if you've seen that, Vaughn, but I've seen some crazy stuff where I'm just like, how does a judge have the right to ever do that?
Yeah, that's why I don't litigate anymore, because what happens in court rarely looks anything like what happens in real life. And if you're the guy involved in the incident, like if it's a domestic and you're involved in domestic, only you and the lady you're involved with the domestic know what it was about and know who started it, and know the officer who shows up is one step removed. By the time you make it to court, you are so far removed that you have a prosecutor and defense lawyer just making up a story and seeing which one is better at convincing the jury of their story. Now, you hope that their story gets close to the reality of what occurred based on their interviews of the witnesses and the forensic evidence. But I've seen so many times, especially, well, one, as a litigator, but two, as an expert or as a witness, where you're sitting up there and you're just like listening to them accuse you of stuff that you have the benefit of knowing is not true, but
Yeah.
they're convincing a jury that it is. And you realize helplessly, like, the jury can buy it. It has nothing to do. It's not true. And then when you're the cop involved in the incident, if you're the one making the arrest or you're the one involved in the fight, and then you get to court and you have people accusing you of all sorts of, being racist, abusive, or corrupt, or whatever it happens to be. And you're like, look, I didn't think of any of those things. Really, I just was driving and the guy had a tag light out or failed to use his turn signal and I pulled him over. I had no idea what his race was. But you're going to sit there in court and listen to them accuse you of all sorts of things. And after a while, you just remain calm because there's nothing you could do except that's not true. There's no rebuttal to what you were thinking other than, that's not what happened.
Yep. Kingslayer.
You see it all the time. You do not want to take your case to a jury. I don't care which side. The prosecution and the defense do not want your cases to go to juries because it often has nothing to do with the reality of what occurred.
Yeah. Kingslayer brings up a good point. He said, most courts don't care about the law. Look at the recent Afro-Man trial. The law says loser pays the court fees, but the judge said Afro-Man has to pay half of all the court fees. Crazy. That is nuts. So I want to switch gears a little bit. I actually, terrible times. What, you got something, Vaughn?
No, I saw your super chat popped up there for $4.
Okay, I'm going to get that right after this one. Terrible times. I think that's a shout out to, who's that bat? Charles Barkley. I think that's a Charles Barkley reference to that name. But it says, so what about enablers for, I'm going to assume that means, he wrote PDFs, which is great, pedos, and snuff films. I'm going to I'm not going to address your question directly in the way that your mind is probably going. In my brain, one of the things that I've been seeing a lot lately, Vaughn, I don't know if you keep up with this, I follow these guys that set up pedophiles. And there's a ton of them now. And recently they caught a cop in Florida, been on the department like 15, 20 years. They do really good job. They get all the evidence lined up. They go do the meetup. They get these people to admit it on camera. Like, it's great. Most of the ones I watch don't do anything to them. They just wait for the cops to get there. But lately what I have been seeing is cops making excuses to not make the arrest. Even though these guys have everything that, I mean, everything that you would need. And I'm like, holy shit, how are we not making the arrest here? I would want the judge to tell me that I can't make that arrest. That's all I'd want. Even if it was on the border. I'm going to make that arrest, and then I'm going to break my affidavit. It's going to go in front of the judge, and the judge is going to say, you don't have the PC. And then it's out of my hands. But when you see all the stuff that these guys are presenting, where they've got the chat, they've got the guy on camera saying, well, yeah, that's what I said, but I meant this. And they got everything, and they're not making the arrest. Have you seen this stuff on?
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that, I prosecuted those cases in a lot of child sex cases and sexual assault cases. And here's the thing that makes that hard. The victims in some jurisdictions have victim rights, like actual statutory victim rights, which means as soon as you make that arrest, you've triggered a process that now involves the victim who may not want to be involved at all. Like, they give the victim a lot of leeway whether they prosecute the case. Now, why that's important and why it requires statutes is because typically if somebody gets robbed, legally, the victim, as we think of it, is the person who got robbed, right? They're not the victim. They're not the actual victim. The state is the actual victim. We call them the victim. They're just witnesses to a crime against the state, right? Statutes are crimes against the state. The offense against the individual goes civilly.
Right.
And so you can, like a domestic, you can say all day long, I don't want to prosecute my husband. It's literally not your choice unless some statute has been passed that gives you that sort of discretion to shut down a case. Well, there's been a lot of strength in that in sexual assault victims, particularly child victims, where you have to have a discussion with the parents. You've got to have you have to have psychologists get involved with the child, and you got to determine what level of involvement do these people actually want to have in the official administration of justice, because they might not want to have any. So you might have an officer who's like, yeah, last time I made an arrest, I got my hand slapped because we didn't consider the victim. The victim didn't want this publicized. It didn't want this thing formally entered in. And so you don't want to trigger, potentially you run the risk of triggering the initiation of the system. Now, that's going to be prosecution dependent, and see what safeguards are in place. In the military, they had pretty good safeguards. They had restricted reporting, so the victim could file a restricted report, which did not trigger the administrative process. But what it did do was authorize the police to collect the evidence, to maintain the evidence, to store it in case the victim changed their mind. And so those protections, and again, you'd have to deep dive. I'm going to give the 65,000 foot, like, one more thing to think about sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because I saw one that I was prosecuting where the female victim, I'll just say she was sexually assaulted in the most horrific ways over and over again. And when she told us about it, we initiated the investigation. She was 100% committed to prosecuting her husband. It was her husband who was raping her. And then she changed her mind and she shut the whole thing down. And once she shut the whole thing down, now you have to say, well, he's a military member. Can we still kick him out of the military? We can't prosecute him because the victim doesn't want him prosecuted. But does she really get a say on whether we keep this guy, who we have lots of evidence raped this woman and others? Do we keep him in the military? And so that ended up being a big deal, because your audience will probably guess what I did. I took every step to get this guy kicked out of the military.
Yeah.
So you got those considerations. I don't know what jurisdiction. Each jurisdiction is going to probably handle that a little bit differently, but that is one more sort of twist to what the police at least need to consider in their jurisdiction about why they might not arrest somebody.
Gotcha. Super chat for Ario dropped $5. Thank you very much. Said if your ID or driver's license has expired and you're not driving, but police have the right to ID, would giving the expired ID be considered presenting invalid ID? I'm not a lawyer, but in my mind, I would say no. You're required to present an ID. It's not that information on that ID is not factual. It's all factual information. It's just expired. So, yeah, show them the expired ID. They're going to figure out it's expired.
Yeah, and I believe you said he was not operating, correct? If that was the scenario, not operating a vehicle at the time.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He did say that.
Can an officer issue a citation? Yeah, they may issue. However, you're going to have a defense to prosecution in there. The terms of that driver's license, Class C or whatever your state is, Class D and some, it's while operating a motor vehicle. And if you're sitting there as a passenger and you actually get stroked a dumb ticket like that, I mean, you're probably going to get out of it. You may have a couple dollars in court fees. It's ridiculous you receive that type of ticket, but
yeah, you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to go through that. I don't know I don't know why a cop would write that ticket, considering you're not operating a motor vehicle. I've seen cops do stupider things though. So, who knows? I got nothing else to add on that. Mr. Billfold said most statutes hinge upon the name and date of birth if physical ID is not available. Yeah. If you're not the one driving, and you don't have a government ID on you at the time, like, you're not technically required to have one on you anyway. You're not operating the vehicle. I can be 40-year-old man walking around without an ID. And if the cop stops me and I did something illegal, jaywalking or whatever, I don't even know if jaywalking is technically illegal anywhere anymore. But if I do something stupid and they need to ID me, I just have to tell them. They're going to try to figure out, if they arrest me, they're going to ID me anyway at the jail, whether that's their fingerprinting or other means. But yeah. And then you go into the name game if I gave them a false name, and that's always a fun adventure. I love the name game. Name game was always fun for me. The longest it took me one time was about 50 minutes. 50 minutes trying to figure out who this person was. So it turned out he had a homicide warrant. That's why we were playing the name game. So is what it is. But yeah, but we have been going an hour. So we have not looked at any video. We've just been answering questions, which is great. This is a part of the show, guys. It's one of the things I love. I feel like our engagement has gone just astronomical lately. Every time we jump on live and we've got a guest, the chat is just out of control. It's really hard. It's really hard for me without an Alan or a dead leg here, but we're getting by with what we're trying to do. Harrison, you're not 40 anymore. You're right. I'm 43. Leave me alone. So I want to get to a video. This video was sent in. Harrison and I think Brandar sent this video, and they both were blowing me up. It's about a 3-minute video. I have not watched this video, so we will see what it is. I have no clue what this video is about. Okay. Share screen. All right, fellas. Let me biggie size this here. Oh, I think we are already. Okay. Here we go.
The arrest cost a Kentucky State Trooper his job and his freedom. He pounded on a man at the end of a police chase who'd already given up. In fact, that officer got more time behind bars than the suspect he was after. Video shows the moment he crossed the line. July 2023, KSP troopers are part of a 4-county pursuit of Robert Kidd, a man reported to be armed, dangerous, and driving a stolen car. Troopers stopped him in Carroll County using a tire deflation device.
10-4, we're coming to a stop right now.
Kidd runs out of the car and into the woods.
Hey, show me your hands! Show me your hands!
The troopers chase him.
337 Camels already split on foot.
This is Hayden.
You know how mad I'm going to be that I have to go in dirty woods like that? That's some thick woods. I'm already worried about spiders and mosquitoes.
Ticks.
Yeah, ticks don't. Well, ticks have never really been a problem for me, but yeah, that would be a concern.
You don't work Virginia.
Yeah, it's true.
Kilborn.
Show me your hands! Don't kill you! Show me your hands! You are...
Moments later, Trooper Kilborn
He said, "You are fucked." Okay, he's running. So far, I'm okay with the tasing. He's fleeing. So intermediate use of force, considering we just had felony pursuit.
his kid.
Give me your hands now! Right here. Give me your hands! Show me your hands!
Oh, that was a headshot. A couple headshots. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of this.
No.
As Kid holds his hands up, video shows Kilborn continuing to hit him repeatedly with a baton.
Put your hands behind your back! Show me your hands! Right here. I will kill you! Put your hands behind your back now!
So you got two people yelling commands. You're beating him while you're yelling commands. Good luck. I can only process so much at one time, and when I'm getting the shit beat out of me with a metal baton in my head.
Give me your hands!
Court documents say Kid suffered 7 stitches to the upper lip, bruising across his face and body, and broken teeth because of the attack.
During the baton strikes, the suspect was seen on body camera footage appearing to comply and show his hands to Trooper Kilborn. It was during this time that the agency determined that Trooper Kilborn's actions constituted excessive force.
5 days later, KSP moved to fire Kilborn. He appealed and saved his job, getting a 6-month suspension without pay. KSP also launched a criminal investigation. And while it played out, the department pulled Kilborn off the street, putting him on admin duty and taking away his police powers.
Former Trooper Kilborn's actions were out of line and rightfully prosecuted.
In January of this year, Kilborn pleaded guilty to assault and terroristic threatening. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, agreed not to seek probation, and to surrender his law enforcement credentials.
This trooper violated the sacred duty of policing.
Meanwhile, Kid was sentenced to 3 years for the stolen car and police chase. He's set to be released from lockup later this year. Now, Kid is suing Kilborn. That lawsuit claims that Kid posed no threat and there was no justification for that use of force. The lawsuit is still working its way through the courts.
Okay. Well, I guess I let me stop sharing here. Before Vaughn gets going, because this is his territory. Before Vaughn gets going, I was okay with the chase. I was okay with it was a stolen vehicle. So where I'm at, we chase stolen vehicles. Foot pursuit into the woods, pretty thick brush, all that stuff. Tasing, I was okay with the tasing. And then it went sideways. The one, it's very hard. Anybody that's even been through scenario based training, when you're getting hit and trying to hear commands, it messes with you. It's hard to take on the two things at the same time. When you're getting hit with a baton in the head, I mean, he had broken teeth, busted lip, all that stuff. So these were headshots. That's where I'm at anyway. What I was trained is the head is a no-go. That's not a target area. Now, what they train you to say is that I was aiming for his arm or an approved spot, and due to the dynamic fluid situation, it hit his head.
And I don't say this often. Highlight Mike Cucumber's comment, because that's a damn good comment.
I do need to go. He did drop another $10. I do have to address that. But let me get to, where is his comment? Duty to intervene. Is that the one you're talking about?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm seeing this more and more, and these peace officers around the country have got to remember, you do have a duty to intervene, whether it feels wrong or whatever. You may be a county or a municipal cop, and that's a state trooper, and oh my God, it's a state trooper. Who gives a shit?
Yeah,
you were on that call with them. Intervene.
And I get it if it's that first whack or two, like shit happens fast. Like but your boy was chopping a tree down.
Sometimes you got to wrap up somebody with a badge on like a pretzel too, if that freaking happens in front of you, period.
Yeah. So, okay. With that said, I want to go to Vaughn. I want to see what Vaughn had to say about this. I know he does his wizardry on use of force. So I was curious. And then we'll get to Mike's question. So
I'm just going to highlight what the video showed. They told him, show me your hands, and he did, and got hit repeatedly for it.
Yeah.
So the question you have to keep asking yourself is, what could he have done to have demonstrated compliance that he didn't already do? Right?
Yeah.
What, because the question is, could a reasonable officer have believed this guy posed a threat, right? Was they potentially armed? There was no
one
indication
hand
of that.
hidden. Yeah.
And if that's the case, and you say, show me your hands, and he shows you his hands, the question then becomes, is how reasonable is it to continue to hit him? You're basically that's just going to break his arm. That's what I was expecting to hear, was those arm breaks. I didn't see anything in that video. Of course, we haven't interviewed the officer, but I think whoever did investigate this and follow it up likely had that. But all I saw in that video was a guy who was complying with what I heard the officer say. And then you got to ask, and you brought up simulations. Like, it's terrifying when you do simulations and you're doing what the officer said. You're not resisting, and they're still using force. And you got to go back afterwards. It's usually because they get on that loop.
Yeah.
And what they want you to do is get on your face and put your hands behind your back. But what they're saying literally is, show me your hands, show me your hands. And you're not complying with what they intend, but you're absolutely complying with what they say. Well, there's no excuse for that. Like, you don't get to hit people when they're doing exactly what you asked them to do.
Yep.
Right. Now, you may be asking him to do something that's not tactically, the best tactical thing. But in that case, I don't know that was even a bad tactical direction. Show me your hands. He does. Right. The next thing is, do not move. None of that played out here. So there's no wizardry to be seen here, sir. This is just from what you showed us on the video. Show me your hands. He showed him his hands, and he got hit repeatedly for it. I don't, there wasn't anything on there the only thing about duty to intervene, let me follow up with that. Duty to intervene makes sense but it's very hard to criminalize it. It's hard to criminalize it because we're seeing it on video. We don't know what that other officer was seeing. You don't know when it's going to start. The first couple are usually a surprise, because you're even like going, what are you doing? Right. It takes you off guard, and you don't realize it's going to keep going. So you think it's done, it's over, and he's already stopped. and then he kicks it off again. The first intervening is to talk to him. You don't have to tackle him. Although for those who have been on the show, you've heard me say before, I literally have tackled at least 2 officers off of suspects. One mounted up on him and was literally choking this guy, and I had to go and literally bum rush him and shoulder him off of that guy. And then the other one, was trying to throttle a guy in the back seat, went to go choke the guy who was already in the back seat in handcuffs because he was mad, and I had to literally rip him off of the guy. So sometimes you get to the point where you have to physically intervene, but the first part is just talk. Hey, we got him, buddy. We got him, because you want to bring down their arousal state. You got to keep yourself in optimal arousal. So you want to emotional arousal, so you can
I'm optimal right now, baby.
Right. But you also, when you see your buddy going condition black, right? He's over here and he's hyper elevated. You want to be like, hey, are you good, buddy? You good, buddy? And if you watch End of Watch, you guys watch that cop show, End of Watch, those partners' communication with each other is very realistic.
Yes.
Hey, we good, partner?
Yes.
What are we doing, partner? What are we doing, partner? Are you good,
Yep.
partner? Checking in with them all the time. That's how it happens in real life, because your partner has good days, bad days. You don't know what happened. They might be maxed out, and you got to be there, check on that. So the first duty to intervene is to communicate with them. And then at the end of that, you might have to literally tackle the guy off and grab them, pull them off.
Yeah.
And we see those cases too, where we got one case where a trooper had to literally pull a city cop off of a suspect. So there's cops doing it. They're taking it seriously. I just don't like criminalizing it, because it's very hard to know when you would have expected that officer based on what he was paying attention to, because he's got to worry about safety stuff too. He's not an observer. He's a participant. And at some point you kind of look up and you realize, hey, enough already, guys. Let's try a different tactic. So it's hard to know when that starting point is, when it would have been clear to any reasonable officer that the guy was engaging in excessive force and intended to continue to do it. That's the hard starting point in the duty to intervene. I wrote that policy for Lexipol, and I wrote it somewhat where it would have been obvious to any reasonable officer that the force was excessive. Then you have a duty to intervene. But you can intervene earlier with communications, right? And that's all about training. You got to build that in at the very beginning of your academy training, or it's going to be too late on the street. So we don't often talk about that too. Honestly, a lot of trainers don't even come into what we're talking about right now, which is you maintain the optimal arousal state for yourself. That means understanding there's lots of things you have to do that. Olympic athlete level stuff cops could be doing, and a lot do. But you also then have to help your partner maintain optimal arousal states, And the first thing isn't de-escalation, it's non-escalation, right? And then to do that in tense, uncertain, rapidly evolving circumstances, it is very difficult. And I'll close with this piece. We all worked with officers who we knew we didn't want at the scene. We knew they were going to red light.
Yep.
We knew it, and everyone knew it. And you could turn them in 100 times, and maybe something would happen, maybe nothing would happen.
Yep.
One of my first FTOs, and I shared this before, he was the only guy really that I watched absolutely abuse people. And I told my sergeant, like, hey, I don't know the stories this guy's telling, because I was there and that's not what happened. And I told him, so I'm just supposed to tell you, and I'm a rookie. Well, I didn't know, because I was a rookie, that the sergeant and this guy were really good friends. So ultimately it got to the right people, but it's these cops they're in bad situations when you get those guys who show up to calls and everybody knows, please tell that guy not to come to my calls, because things are only going to get worse. I don't know if this guy had that reputation, if this was an anomaly, because I've also seen cases where you got the most restrained, disciplined, high functioning cop out there, and he behaves as an anomaly off his norm. Like, he's usually highly composed, great operator. And one day you're shocked by what you're seeing, and you got to figure out what happened there. Does that end his career? Does that put him in jail? And people are like, he's an abusive cop. And you go, well, he was tonight. I've never seen that from him before. So there's a human side of it too. That's what I got.
Yeah. In this one, I don't know if you guys could tell, the baton bent a little bit. That's how hard your boy was chopping that tree. So
that could have been the camera, my friend.
It could have been, but
the fisheye lens makes the thing bend. But it's better for your story to make it sound like you bent it.
It looks bent.
It looks bent.
It looks
That's
bent.
true.
So I was trying to pause it on the baton while you were talking. I just could not get the damn thing to cooperate with me. But yeah. Anyway, for those
I got a funny thing to share real quick.
Okay.
So I'm texting Pappy and Dwayne.
Oh, nice.
Saying hi to them and tell them welcome. And they said, one of them says, "Who is this?" And I said, it's Vaughn. And he says, "Oh, I thought it might be Mr. Billfold."
Oh shit, Mr. Billfold's already a legend. They're worried about you, Mr. B.
How did he get your numbers is what I want to know. That man is good.
He is good. I love it. That's what we should have done. We should have just given their numbers to them.
I just did. I gave Mr. Billfold both their numbers so that
nice.
he can get a hold of them.
Love it. All right, let me get to Mike's question. Before I do, I'm sorry, Mike. One more point on this. Accountability, police accountability. You guys saw within 5 days, this guy was pulled from the streets. The investigation went how it should do, and he got everything that he should have gotten. The system worked. So for those that say police are never held accountable, like, look, here's an example. Like it just doesn't get highlighted. Why? It would have got highlighted a lot more if this dude didn't get in any trouble. But he did get in trouble and he went to prison. But we don't hear about it. I would have never heard of this fucking story if one of you guys hadn't shared it with us. So that's the crazy thing to me is the media they should have been showing this thing all over the place and I didn't see it. And this is what I do. This is part of my little side job here. So anyway, over to Mike. Sorry, Mike. Mike dropped another $10 and I didn't want to miss it. But we were on that and I didn't want to be rude. So super chat, $10. Not IDing is not obstruction in my state. Not answering my door was. Any advice to help me with the emotional side? I'm sure the officer thinks nothing of it while I've spent months being depressed. That's a heavy question, brother. Advice. It's hard. It depends on the mindset you have. I'm an optimistic person by nature. Even when shit sucks, I tend to focus on the positive sides of things. You know, how much worse could it have been? Which doesn't help you. And I don't know your mindset. I don't know the type of person you are. For me, trying to find things that restore my faith in humanity helps me. I will intentionally seek out videos of good things that kind of remind me that there's still a lot of good people out there. I will talk to people about it. I'll talk to, like, let's say I had a problem with a cop. Like, if I was in your shoes, my advice would be go do a ride along if you can. Go talk to another cop. You're talking to cops right now. So I don't know. I'm not the most crisis intervention trained person in the world. Banning, Vaughn, either one of you guys got something?
You've always got to be able to communicate with people. You can't just let stuff build up in your head, thinking that you were, isolated, and you may truly, in fact, have been. I don't know the story of the case, but the best thing you have to understand is, and regardless of what your thoughts are, not all cops are bad. And I know people are sick of hearing it, but the majority of them, and I don't care if they're sick of it, are very good people. Hopefully some of y'all think that we're good folks, and we represent the masses of law enforcement out there. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but I know a lot of cops across the country. And there's a lot of good cops out there. So many more good cops than there are bad. And what Eric said on going out there to take that ride out, you may not want to ride with that specific agency. Go ride out with the county agency.
Yeah,
go ride out with state law enforcement. Ride a different one. And just get that experience firsthand.
Yeah, and let them know why. I would tell them, like, I had a really bad experience. I'm just trying to wrap my head around that all y'all aren't like this. Go sit down and talk to an IA person at another agency. I learned so much from IA. It's one of those places I never want to work. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't envy what they have to do. And I learn so much every time I talk. I happen to run across one. I always have a question. Hey, I was thinking about this. Like, what do you guys do? How do you guys make sure your checks and balances? How do we know you're not just protecting blue just because it's blue? Like, and then they started telling me about all their checks and balances and stuff that they have. They're like, there's no way we could do what you're saying. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. Mike said this channel is good for me. Well, we appreciate that, brother. And I remember you must have been pretty fresh because you went after me, bro. He was taking out his emotional stress on us. I was like, Jesus. So, you know me.
You're feeling better, man. You're not gonna. We're punching bags. I mean, friggin' punch away. That's what Eric originally built this for. Is and that's what we're still trying to do every day. Is bring the community to law enforcement. Let's have some common ground. We're not going to agree on everything. Let's talk about it. That's how this whole thing got created. So you coming to this channel is exactly why it was even created to begin with. So thank you for coming here.
Yeah. Steve, Pappy said, I didn't get the text, Vaughn.
He ignored it because he had I hadn't given him he hadn't made the cut for my personal cell number yet. So he saw my business one pop up or that it didn't track, but he's risen to the level. He now has my personal cell, but
yeah. I'm going to,
one of the other things about that last conversation is we had the benefit of cops when we arrest people. A lot of times we get to sit with them for hours afterwards and have conversations, right? You're doing gang and drug investigations, whatever. You're there talking to them, and you get to have those conversations about why you did what you did and all the things that they misunderstood about what they thought their rights were, what the law was. You get to flesh that out. And so there is a decompression. When you just have your life certainty stripped from you, injustice, you feel like it's unjust. You feel like you can't predict your own world anymore. It's high levels of stress. You feel like, I tell you, one of my sister will kill me. One of the best life lessons I had was when my sister did something and I got spanked for it. Talk about injustice. You're like, the truth and you're literally getting spanked for something someone else did. That's sort of what it feels like. And I never forgot that. So one of the things, and I don't know if it's possible, but I've heard this happen where you do sort of almost like a mediation. You say, hey, can I talk with the officer? I got arrested and I still don't know why. And if the officer would be willing to sit down with me and explain, what they were doing, why they did it, help me understand, because this has really been bothering me. I've heard officers willing to do that. I certainly would be willing to do that.
I would be.
I've done that.
Yeah, and I've done that too. But but like I say, I was thinking, how often did I actually do that where someone asked? It was more often sitting in the interview room with them for hours. We're like, hey, man, that wasn't right what you did. How many times did it start with, man, you're wrong, it wasn't right what you did, and you're just like, hey, let's talk about it. What are you talking about? And they just don't know the exceptions. They don't know all this, why you can search their car. They don't know why you can arrest them. They don't know that the odor of marijuana, for example, is illegal. It's PC. I get to get you out of the car and search your car. So because they think they weren't holding a marijuana cigarette, you can't search their car. So they feel like it was unjust, unrighteous because they didn't know what the law actually was. You get a chance to sit and explain to them if you want to. Now, if you're doing gang and drug investigations, you often didn't want to tell them what the PC was until you got to court because you don't want to educate them on how to hide it the next time, right? Remember when we'd see, the corners of plastic baggies ripped off sitting on the floor, right? Which is how they were packaging crack cocaine back in the day. So that's PC to search the car. And so they didn't know that. And you're getting them out of the car and they're getting arrested on PC and then you're searching the car and they're really upset about it. And that's just a case. And you guys are great at putting this out on videos all the time. There's just a case where the officer doesn't know the law and you're sitting there like, I didn't do anything wrong. And you're right. And there's going to be those cases. So it would be nice, if I'm in your position to say, look, I just want to understand what I did. I still don't know what I did. And it's hard to go through life unable to predict your own interaction, particularly with people in positions of authority.
Yeah. To what I have Kingslayer's thing up here that I want to address real quick, and then I'll get to Mr. Billfold. Drop $5 in the super chats. The system didn't work. He should have been arrested right after they finished arresting the person. That officer got kid glove system. Listen, I'll just say I hate this. I hate when people say this stuff. This actually pisses me off. The system doesn't have a fucking time frame. The system's a system. When it works, it works. Whether it takes a year, whether it takes 4 days, whether it takes right on the spot. You seem to think that because the cop did it right then and there, that it should have happened right then and there. And it didn't. That doesn't mean the system didn't work. There are people that have committed homicides and weren't arrested on the spot and committed it right in front of a cop. I know specifically of one that happened in front of me where 2 people fought and he punched a guy and the guy hit his head on the ground. He was not arrested initially. He was let to go home because it was a mutual fight. He was defending himself, actually. And he wasn't arrested, but then he ended up getting arrested later. So just because they don't get fucking arrested right then and there because your instant gratification wasn't satisfied doesn't mean the system didn't fucking work. The guy's sitting in prison.
Yeah, you want to add to that. There are cases where they moved too fast on the officers and the officers never got held accountable because they violated the officers' rights. They violated their procedural rights internally and their statutory rights. And then they ended up, they just did things too fast. And so some of the times, especially if you got a lawyer involved, your corporate counsel, your police legal advisor, who's saying, hey, you got to cross the T's and dot the I's if you want this prosecution to stick. Mm-hmm. And so slow down. Don't look like you were trying to retaliate. Don't look like this was personal. Slow down, conduct the investigation like you would any other investigation. And when you get PC, then we make the arrest. But on a case like this, you want to get his statement if you can get his statement. You want to get the statement of the other officers. You want to review the body cam because you want to get it right. If you get it wrong, you end up losing a really righteous case. So it's just from a lawyer standpoint. I've seen a lot of cases where they went too fast and the guy ends up getting his job back and a bunch of back pay. And then he has a civil suit against the agency because they went too fast.
Yeah. And then he's untouchable.
And then they become
then he's untouchable because anything you do, even if he does fuck up, now he's going to be able to claim retaliation. So I've seen it. Anyway. Mr. Billfold, he dropped $5 in the super chat and he said, Mike is the rule, not the exception. He has legal, arguable defense that the obstruction charge, but at what cost? Justice juice not worth the squeeze. And I understand what he's saying. Is that's probably where the depression's coming from, is the fact that he knows he was right. He was wronged, or at least thinks he is. And even if he tries to go prove that in court, now you got the cost. He's already dropped $3,000 on an attorney. You got all this stuff. It's just easier to plea. And that's what sucks about the system. It's not a perfect
we mentioned it before too. The hardest people to deal with are innocent people, right? Because the law allows you to stop people just on reasonable suspicion, which means a lot of innocent people get stopped, but it's reasonable to suspect them. You do the investigation, you let them go. Yeah. And innocent people do not like to be stopped. It's hard to go, I understand you're just doing your job. Like the way the officer engages with them makes a huge difference in investigatory detentions and stops. Then the next thing is probable cause is an investigatory standard. We arrest people just on a probable cause standard, which is a very low standard. That's less than, that doesn't really have a neat statistical level, but we know it's less than 51%. Because that's preponderance of the evidence. So a lot of innocent people are legally arrested. The officers have to have enough emotional intelligence to realize, I don't care if it's a lawful arrest based on PC. You might want to circle back with that person. The way you treat them in the process works, but if you can circle back with a tactical apology, hey, sorry for the inconvenience. I know that sucked. You don't always get that chance, but often when you get a lot of frequent flyers, you do, and you get to have that conversation with them. You can have it in court where they threw the case out at the preliminary hearing, right? It doesn't even get through the prelim, and the judge is saying there's insufficient evidence to move forward. More evidence came in. So that's the other thing is you had probable cause at the time, and then additional evidence comes in that dissipated the probable cause. It means at the time the arrest was illegal, but further processing is not, because now you know better. But the people involved, they're like, I don't care what the legal standard is. You stopped me and I was innocent. You detained me and I was innocent. You arrested me and I was innocent. even though it was lawful. Not to mention the ones that you didn't have that, and they were illegal, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And Kingslayer, you're not getting it, bro. You're not getting it. You think that the cops are getting the kid glove system because they get these extras. It's not extras. I'm telling you that citizens I've seen get way more. I have seen people literally investigated for a murder, and they were interviewed, all but put the smoking gun on themselves and were allowed to walk out the door. That's literally what the homicide investigators did. And I'm as a snot-nosed officer that only been on 2 years, I was like, what the fuck was that? This dude just put himself on the scene. Like every smoking gun that you could want, this guy basically said, because I got to watch the interview, and they just let him walk out the door. Why? Because it was a consensual encounter interview. It wasn't an interrogation. And it was crazy. I'd never seen anything like it. I didn't know that was a thing. So I disagree with you. You just don't see it. That's the problem. And you just assume that other people don't get that same treatment. And that's not true. Citizens get this. Banning, Vaughn. I'm just only giving my experience.
Well, the system itself, if you look at about between 90 and 98% of all your criminal cases are going to get pled out. That means they're not being held accountable to what they actually did, right? Unless they're pleading to the top offense, which is not really beneficial in most pleas. It might save money. Of those, you get like 85% to get probation. Like the idea that citizens are being held accountable for the actual conduct that they committed. There's so much crime that the system would be overloaded if we did that. Overwhelmingly, guilty people are being allowed to plead down to things that were much less than what they actually did, and then they're getting probation. It is hard to put somebody in jail statistically. Now, we all know people that are in prison, obviously, but it is usually an extensive criminal history before somebody's getting put in prison these days. Now, obviously, if it's heinous enough crime, you can probably hit them on the first one. But the definition of what's heinous these days isn't even robberies, isn't even ag assaults, isn't even attempted murders, right? Yeah. You're still getting a lot. So there is that. I think cops do have certain administrative protections for conduct that occurs in their professional capacity. That's the whole presumption issue, but it's a rebuttable presumption. I think someone had a comment in there that I thought they should get the benefit of the doubt, or one, they get a presumption of innocence and a presumption of regularity, but our job is to investigate. They can lose that presumption. These are rebuttable presumptions, and it doesn't take long to dig into these cases to go, yeah, no, because they don't really come down to credibility determinations anymore. There's body cam footage all the time. There's other witnesses. Right. It's rare that any of these cases come down to just pure credibility. And oftentimes we're also in a system where if it's a credibility determination, the burden is on us to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. If you say, I don't know who to believe, it's not guilty. That sucks. Like, in how many of these cases we're like, I don't know who to believe. I can't tell you the cop's telling the truth. I don't know if he's lying. That's not guilty in criminal cases, because you got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And that can be frustrating.
Yeah.
So yeah, the system is definitely set up to protect anybody, cop or civilian, much more than it's set up for victims.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike dropped $5 in the super chat and said, Eric, it's a legal gray area that would need to be hashed out in court. 15 to 30 grand to appeal. Definitely a cost benefit analysis. Thank you all. So I hear you, brother. Sorry that you had to go through that. And now the more that I know about it, I understand why you had a little chip on your shoulder and took it out on us for a little bit. I get it, brother. All is forgiven. I promise.
Hey, on a bright note, we now have another Hall of Fame inductee of National Law Enforcement Officer Hall of Fame. Lindsay McCall has joined this podcast today.
Oh, nice.
She is an amazing police officer and absolute hero. I won't go through her exact story, but she put her life on the line, saved her partner, and was actually shot in the process. She now is really dedicated to resilience and mental health support. And you guys were there, I think, when she was inducted.
She spoke, right? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I remember her. Yes.
So she has joined us here.
Actually,
probably did not ask me to call her out, but I love.
She owes me a podcast. We had a conversation where she'd be on the podcast. So
well, now she's on.
we need to do that. We need to line that up, girl, for sure. That'd be a fun story to tell on here, and I'm sure our people would appreciate that. Steve Pappy said, as a non-lawyer, don't trust me, but Fresno, California just came out regarding great bodily injury versus serious bodily injury. Serious bodily injury is apparently a greater injurious definition. Crim 505, civilian use of deadly force must fear great bodily injury. Crim 507, officer use of deadly force must be the greater standard of serious bodily injury. Good to know. Good to know.
Pappy's the he's the California translator interpreter because they.
Good luck.
They just make up stuff as they go.
I was going to say,
Somebody
good luck.
has to stay on top of it.
No offense to our California peeps, but I don't know how y'all do it. I don't know how you do it. Kevin within Ohio, I'm sorry, go blue. You can't see it, but I have my Michigan flag back here. He's got an Ohio State Buckeyes icon. He said, hey guys, critical of law enforcement, but I'm not one of the dumb ones. Sadly, there are higher powers turning us against law enforcement. You guys understand reasonable suspicion and look at the facts. Yes. And you're not wrong. There's definitely people constantly trying to put us against, put people against cops. It's just division in general. It sells, guys. It just sells. So let's get to some fucking videos. We have been neglecting our videos. I am going to pull up some stuff that I got queued. Some of this stuff I have watched. So we got some Instagram stuff that I wanted to get on here. So let me share the screen. All right. And it is on. Okay. This may appear a little smaller than normal. That's what she said. Trying to, let me hide the chat. There we go. All right. So I have seen this. I'll just play it. You guys watch this. So here we go. This is not going to be a body cam review. This is story time. So let's watch the story.
So the bush is that way.
They lost water.
Do you guys know where he usually goes?
Yeah.
So it's not usual for him to actually get all the way.
Not all the way.
Okay.
He runs towards that way, but I always catch him.
All right, here's what I need. They're saying that he usually runs like this. Do you have anybody on Freeman Lake?
No.
Okay, how about this? One of you, Steve Reynolds right here. One of you go to Freeman's Lake. Okay?
So quick backstory. They have a nonverbal autistic kid. He can wander from his house occasionally, and he's got a history of it. Normally, they've always been able to get him. They couldn't get him this time. They couldn't find him, so they called the cops, and that's what you guys are seeing.
118, I have the kid on the lake. Serrano!
Over here!
I got you.
You hear the ambulance?
They found him?
They found him. He is okay.
Okay, ya lo encontraron. Oh, ya, señores. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Ay. Thank you.
That is what it's all about. That's what I'm talking about. I love that shit. I love that. That's why we sign up. I think that's everybody's got different reasons why they sign up to be a cop. There's those that are like, I want to drive fast and chase bad guys, and I think my personal thing was always I just wanted to help people. That was me personally. I just want to help people. I want to help people better than what I was helped when I was a kid. I didn't have a good impression of cops. Wasn't a big fan. I love my first responders in my military. I just where I was at, I was like, I don't. And you know, when you think you're going to be a cop, you're like, I'm going to be a cop where I grew up. Well, that didn't happen, but this was really cool to see, and I want people to see that there's no hesitation. These guys weren't out seeking glory. They had a job to do. They communicated well. They organized. They set a plan in motion, and they executed it, and it was beautiful. And look at the response you got from either mom or grandma. I don't know who she was, but I mean, there's just not a better feeling in the world than something like that. So you guys know me. I try to stay pretty balanced. I want you guys to see great examples of cops, and I also want you to see bad examples. That Kentucky one that we saw is a bad example. But the good side of that is somebody was held accountable. And then you see this. This could have been very easily what we refer to as a floater. And that would have been horrible. But it wasn't. They acted fast enough that wasn't a problem. It did a great job. Banny, you got anything to add on that?
No, sir. It's good to see that every now and then with all the stuff that gets sent to our inboxes. It's really good to see that.
Yeah, all these. I mean, I haven't looked up a video myself in a long time. I think Mr. Billfold actually sent this one, bro. I'm gonna call him out, Mr. Pessimistic, Mr. Realist, Mr. Billfold. There's a hint of optimism in this man. We're winning him. He's looking at some rainbows now. I don't think everything's sunshine yet, but he's looking at a couple rainbows, and he's kind of in awe, and he's starting to share some of the good stuff with us. He's not just sharing the bad videos anymore. He's sharing the good ones. He's turning into a softie. I love it. So
we're gonna have to make up our own award ceremony annually.
I know, right? Okay.
Lots of Ubers.
So next video. I have this one. This is a double-edged sword. There's really good things about it, and there's really bad things about it. The really bad thing about it, you're going to see it right away. I can't wait to see Vaughn's reaction because I want to know what he thinks. All right, let me share the screen here. Another Instagram vid. I like it. Project 1868 said, "Good on those cops." Eric grew up on 8 Mile. Eric did not grow up in 8 Mile. Eric grew up around Flint. So, all right, let's. Yeah, that's his. Can we make that any bigger? Yeah, let me get rid of the chat. Okay, here we go. You can already kind of see the problem with this video for me.
Sorry, Tyler. Yeah, I mean, we got it all recorded. We do a YouTube channel where we give back. So we give people like free roofs who can't afford it, pay for people's laundry, stuff like that. Handout. So we were in, yep, I guess handouts. Sorry about that. Sorry, guys. Anyways, but we're happy to go. I just wanted to make sure we talked to you if you need anything from us before we left. That was it. That was the only reason I was waiting. Cool.
Okay, so the basic premise of this is I love that Copville's comment right there says 1 mile run, 5 push-ups, 1 sit-up, hands in vest. So these guys are a type of, not necessarily auditor, but they have that function with them as well. But they give out handouts in it. They were going around trying to collect stuff and to hand out and do that thing. So somebody called on him. But this cop shows up, and immediately the suspect just goes and talks to the cop and kind of explains what's going on his side and asks the cop, "Hey, do you need anything?" And I love the cop's response. "No, I don't have," he isn't saying it, but he's saying, "I don't have a crime. Like, I don't need any of your stuff." So he doesn't have the ID crack that a lot of people like to say cops have, and we do. We do have ID crack. I have it. But he's not asking for ID. He's not anything. I love that. I love that side of it. We'll talk about his fit in a second, but let's keep going.
Well, really appreciate you. Absolutely not. You cannot have my information. Yeah. I'm not giving her my information, but if you need it.
I can't have no reason to get the information and then commit a crime.
Beautiful. I don't know if you heard it, but she's saying, I want their ID, I want their information, I want to sue them civilly. And the officer says, I'm not making them give you their ID. They haven't committed a crime. That is the perfect response. That's what I want to hear from our officers. And there's no ID crack here. So for those watching that have kept up with my little series of cops and auditors teaming up, this is going to be the 4th part of my series. So I've been putting all these videos together that I keep finding of cops doing exactly what they should be doing and acting the way they should be doing, teaming up with these types of auditors. Because nobody ever shares this stuff. So I'm trying to highlight it. But I thought this was the perfect reaction. So let's keep going.
If I say I don't want them to videotape me, how is it okay for them to videotape?
So they didn't commit a crime. So I don't have no reason to get out and have the information. I'm just out here just keep the peace, honestly.
Hey, sir.
And that's it. Your boy goes, I'm just out here to keep the peace. That's beautiful. What do you got, Vaughn?
I mean, not much. There's always, I want you to think about as the cop going back to the station and these guys get called on again. You're like, hey, were you out there with these guys? Yeah, how did they check out? Like, I don't know. I didn't get any info from them. What do you mean? Did you get their tag? No, I didn't get their tag. I didn't get anything. They didn't commit any crimes. So at this juncture, you're right. It's not a crime. You can't demand their information, and he's smart to do that. What cops are trained to do is then just go consensual, right? Hey, if you mind, can I write it on my run sheet so I know who I was talking to today in case somebody makes up a story about you that I can say didn't happen. You know, obviously I don't see any damage. If somebody says, you know, hey, they spray painted my wall, or they broke my glass, I'll be your best one to say, no, they didn't. While I was there, that didn't happen. But if I can get your information, put it on my run sheet. If they say no, and you got them on your body camera, then you can make sure you make a note of time, date, and location so that if you have to go back again and go, yeah, is this the same person you talked to 2 days ago at that one place? You go, I don't know, I didn't get any of their ID, but let me check the body cam, like if that was stored. Or here was the tag they had that day. So you get as much publicly available information so that you don't make unreasonable demands on them for ID. But it would be, you know, your FTO, your super, all of them, it would be ridiculous if you walk away from a call and you didn't even ask the person if they're willing to give you their ID so you could put it on your run sheet, document who you talked to that day. And it actually literally benefits them as well as you. But at the end of the day, oftentimes you come across people and there's nothing illegal. They don't want to share your information. That's it. You kind of put on a run sheet, talk to a white male wearing a blue shirt with a blue hoodie with, you know, WWE on the front of it, blue jeans, white tennis shoes, refuse consensual ID.
Yeah,
that's it. Back in service. But you know, I'm being real here. Like you can't you're not just going to walk away and not try to do the best you can in case it comes up again.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I've talked about on here. These guys will give me shit for it all the time that Levine's got ID crack issues, and they're not wrong. But the thing that I argue, or that I tell cops that they should do, this was my training, is when they don't need to ID, educate them. Hey, you have no requirement to give me your ID, but for all the reasons that you just listed, Vaughn, like these are one of the reasons I'd ask for it. With that in mind, do you want to give me your ID? No. Or yes, whatever it is they want to do. But I love the education aspect of it, of explaining when they are required and when they're not required. So even if they are required, hey, you know, you're under arrest and I need to get your ID and all that stuff. I ain't telling you shit. Like, look, it could be an additional charge. Here's why. Because when you get arrested, like now you're required to ID by law, and you go down the line, you tell them to help them avoid that extra charge. So things like that. But I like the education aspect of when people, especially when people are not required to ID, because that's what I will do. Like, hey, right now, you don't have to give me your ID, but it does help with everything that we got going on. It can benefit you, and this is why, and go down that line. With that in mind, would you mind giving me your ID? And I would say 99% of the time that works. I can't even recall a time where somebody's like, no, fuck you.
Yeah, there's the only time it was so rare. Almost everybody gives you at least even not ID. They give you their name and date of birth, social security number, something you can validate.
Yeah, something you can validate. Yep.
It's
Absolutely.
not hard. I did have a young girl lie to me, gave me the wrong information. She had it like wired. She just gave it to me right away. And I was like, just like you, I was like, this is not a big deal, you know? So I wrote her the ticket based on the information she gave me. That was fine. She comes, court date comes, and this this girl's sitting there, and she's like, it was municipal court, so it's just her and me. Like, there's no attorneys involved in municipal court. It's just the lady who got the ticket and me. And he says, Your Honor, I've never been pulled over in my life. I don't know what this ticket's for. And he looks at me, he goes, do you recognize this woman as the woman you pulled over? And I look at her, I go, yeah, I have no idea if this is who I pulled over. She's sitting in a car. She never got out. You stopped hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. He's like, and she says, my cousin uses my name all the time. It was probably her, because the judge asked her, like, how do you think this happened if it wasn't you? And she's like, well, my cousin always uses my name. And so he's like, okay, I find you not guilty, and you're free to go, ma'am. Thank you for coming today. And then he looks at me, he goes, the next time someone tries to identify themselves verbally, you need to demand ID or take them to the jail and get them ID'd, because this is what happens when you just take them at their word.
Yeah.
And so in that jurisdiction, if they didn't positively identify themselves, like, it was arrestable. He's like, arrest her, take her to the jail until she positively identifies herself. And I was like, okay, but he didn't hold it against her. He's like, hey, have a nice day. Thanks for coming. Not guilty. You know, I didn't think twice about it. I was like, fair. Like, I can't tell you if that was her, but.
Yep. On my way said education over ego goes so much farther. I agree. I'm a big fan of the education side of things, but to the other side of that video, your boy was large and in charge. Appearance is everything in this job, especially when you're out on the streets. And the comments tore this dude apart. I'm sorry. I have high standards when it comes to physical fitness, and that dude wasn't catching anybody. Sloppy. I don't like that side of it. So if I was his Sarge, I'd be like, bro, you got some work to do. Like, you should never let yourself get to this point. So I'm not a big fan of that. It's a representation of the department. It's a representation of the career. And you look through these comments, like I showed you what Copville said right away. Like, it was bad news. So take your fitness seriously. To officers out there listening, take your shit serious. But yeah, Andy Fletcher said, I don't have a problem with people asking. I have a huge problem with the lying to coerce ID and the threats of arrest, and especially the actual arrest with no other crime. Yeah, cops get it wrong a lot too. I see where they're arresting for failure to ID, and I'm like, that's a secondary offense. You don't have a primary offense yet, and you're already arresting them for failure to ID. So Banning's laughing. He's seen that one a few times too. No. All right, let me see here. What other videos? Okay, so I'm actually talking to these guys that were in this video. So I'm going to share it, and I'll kind of give you guys the background of what I know. So these guys go to this park, and they feed hot meals, basically. And in this particular case, they were out there giving out their hot meals to people. And it's not like just for homeless people. They'll do it for anybody that comes up and is looking for a hot meal at the park. Whether it's the kids skating at the skate park, people out there playing basketball, any of that. So it's kind of a cool thing. And let me get rid of this. Let's make this bigger. There we go. So according to the person on the video, the cops weren't called. They just showed up. And I'll let you see what I see.
What's your name and badge number?
Hey, sit down.
What's your name and badge number?
Come here.
What's your name and badge number?
Come here. What's up with this shit?
Hey, y'all just got up on it for no reason?
Some bitches, bro. Fuck y'all, bro.
Hey, bro, what y'all doing?
Back away.
Hey, so y'all tackling niggas? Niggas can't play basketball or what, nigga? What's up with y'all niggas, bro? So niggas can't play basketball. Y'all some dirty niggas, bro. What's up with y'all? So we can't play basketball, what?
Okay, so nothing really else happens after that. The full story of what I got from them is that after this, they didn't even arrest anybody. Nobody got arrested. They never were given a reason for what they were being, what I would assume, detained. There was no call. Other than you could hear loud music in the background. Maybe that was associated. The park doesn't have a time limit. And they actually showed me the park, and I saw the park rules. So that was the first thing in my mind. It's kind of later at night. Parks tend to close. This one doesn't have a closing time because they have you can see it's all a lit up basketball court. So after they were finishing up feeding people, and a couple people wanted to play basketball afterwards, so that they had just finished and doing their food thing, and then playing some ball, and then the cops showed up, pulled right up onto the thing, and then we saw what we saw. That was a story that was given on their side. So, obviously there's always two sides to every story. But what I did notice was the moment that that dude asked for his name and badge number, that's when the attitude and the ego started to swell up a little bit. So I am going to get this guy that was involved in this, not the cop. That would be cool if I could get him too. But just curious what you see, from what you see, and the little bit of a backstory I gave you from one side of that party. What do you think, Banning?
I've been to situations like that when I worked at a medium-sized agency, and it's usually like, if we get the call and it becomes a city ordinance thing, again, you already kind of laid some precedents on, and there was no time, but hey guys, can you keep it down? We're getting some calls. I understand you're playing some, but then again, it's a lot better to see them playing basketball than out doing something else. So it's like, maybe you need to fade the heat from the people calling, give them a call like, hey, I'm sorry they're playing basketball and you decided to get a house, 30 yards from the basketball court. They're playing basketball. They're not out here doing bad stuff. Deal with it. Get a freaking box fan if you can't sleep. I don't know. I mean, those kind of calls just frustrate the heck out of me, especially when they're being productive. I call that very productive.
Yeah.
They're going out there freaking doing athletics
and being vague. I think that gets cops in trouble more often than anything. Your vagueness. You're not explaining that they're detained. You're just saying, you're just shooing them along. What is the goal? Hey, you're under arrest. Hey, you're detained. Don't go anywhere. I need you to go over there. Like, there's no clear direction. But as soon as that kid came up with a video and said, I want your name and badge number, now all the focus is on him. You need to sit down. You need to sit down. And the guy's like, I want your name and badge number. And now we're going to chase him and then take him down. And then no arrest was made. Vaughn, what are you thinking as prosecutor, Vaughn? Like, if I'm the cop and I bring this case to you, what are you thinking as prosecutor, Vaughn?
Well, one, I have no idea what their legal basis was for the detention.
I know. Don't get all nerdy on me. I'm just saying.
No, but that's the big problem, because here's the conversation we're having. There's a tension, and we talk about this tension all the time, and that is the Supreme Court tells the police you must maintain unquestioned command at the scene of an investigation. Like, everybody's safer, cops and civilians, when you maintain unquestioned command. Cops will not let people freely come and go from the scene of the central focus of the investigation. So, presuming they had some legal basis for the investigation, which is a big assumption here. So start that, because the analysis doesn't make sense otherwise. Because if they have no legal basis for the detention, it's on its face unreasonable and everything that flows from it, right? So, but if they do, what I'm hearing in the conversation is, when the police have a legal right to detain you, they also then get to tell you to sit down. They take reasonable steps to keep you in a reasonable area of movement. And they determine that, especially when there's large crowds. So if I say you need to have a seat, extend your feet out, cross your ankles, put your hands flat on the ground, because as we know, working a lot of gangs and drugs, we don't want them fleeing. We don't want them accessing weapons, drugs, and contraband. So we put them in a position of disadvantage. And we have multiple people. You got to get compliance right away with multiple people. But as a citizen, especially like I said earlier, the most innocent people are the hardest ones to control, because you have a legal right to control them, and they're asking you for your name and badge number. They don't have a legal right. Your authority isn't premised on whether you give them the name and badge number. but we want it, right? And so we're like, well, I'm not doing what you say until you call your supervisor. I'm not doing what you say until you tell me your name. I'm not doing what you say. And that is absolutely not a legal right of citizens. Now, having said that, we'll go back to your point. How do we train cops? Everybody wants to know why. So just tell them right up front.
Yes.
Don't wait for them to ask. So it's, hey, I'm Officer Kliem from such and such department. The reason I stopped you is, and then is there any justified reason you want to invite them? Because they also want to tell their side. So, hey, I'm Officer Kliem, such and such department. Is there any, the reason I stopped you is, get it out of the way right up front. You've already told them your name. You told them, you don't tell them your badge number. I don't ever do that. But I can say, hey, I'm Officer Kliem, IBM 271, right? They wouldn't even know what that meant. Badge number one. But the training of cops who go through verbal judo, realistic de-escalation, verbal influence and defense, any of the higher level de-escalation, persuasion, and communication courses, is you start with that 7 or 8 step investigative stop, and you have the script, and it's identify yourself in your department, give them the reason for the stop, invite justification for the conduct, and then make your enforcement decision, communicate the enforcement decision. All these things are scripted because when you don't do those things, you can reasonably expect the person to have an elevated arousal state. You want to actually be, first thing is non-escalation. Well, every difficult person, and we're all difficult people. That's all of us. That's not an insult. Difficult people, just simply the people who want to know why. Don't just stop me without telling me why. I want to know why. Everybody in your audience is a difficult person, including the host and guests. So it's not an insult. It's just those people who want to know why. So when you watch something like this, I don't know why time was of the essence, but the other things cops know and cops are trained to consider is that if I tell you to stop and you don't immediately comply, but instead, oh, I can't breathe, oh, my arm hurts, or I need your badge number, there's delay. You're now letting the person you're trying to stop, assuming lawfully stop, you're trying to let the person who you're going to lawfully stop dictate the time and place of the interaction. They don't get to dictate the time and place of the interaction. The police officer does. But in knowing that you have the authority, you don't have to absolutely, exert every ounce of your authority, especially if time is not of the essence. So when you have discretionary time, we talked about what discretionary time is. When you have a reasonable amount of containment and a reasonable amount of control, then you can engage in communication, persuasion, and de-escalation, right? I don't know if this guy just turned and ran when he said, I need to get your name and ID. If the guy had warrants or whatever, I don't know what his reaction was. Or if he's just like, no, I don't have to, and took off running because he knew he was innocent.
Right.
The hardest people to investigate are innocent people. So I would say that every cop since the 90s, there has been training out there. I don't know if every cop has gotten the training, but there's been training out there since when I began that said, hey, everyone you stop is going to want to know why, so you may as well front load it. Tell them why right off the bat. Don't make them guess. And that's what I saw here. It was like, I don't know if it's ego. I don't know if time was of the essence. I don't know if that was the guy I think, hey, that looks like the guy that got his warrants. That would all be sort of helpful, right, to know that. That's what I saw there. Like the citizen thought he had a right to dictate the time and place of the investigation, and the cop was like, no, you don't.
Yeah. I'm going to get these guys on, at least the guy that was videoing, and find out more of the story, but I just found it very interesting that even after that, nobody was actually arrested. So
answer Andy Fletcher. You have no authority if I have not broken the law. That's simply not true. And that's the hardest part. That's an innocent person talking. The police can stop you when they reasonably suspect you've committed a crime. They can stop you if they have probable cause. That means you may not have actually committed a crime. You may be 100% innocent. And to your point, you've committed 0 crimes and they can still legally investigate you. And that's what makes that so tough.
Yep. Sorry, I'm responding to people. And it's a hard thing for people to accept. I think is that I'm innocent, so I don't have to. And then you'll get at what point am I allowed to use my Second Amendment right?
Second Amendment.
Yeah. Oh, that'll be I'm telling you. That's the very first pushback. If I know I'm innocent, when can I use my Second Amendment right?
Yeah.
So that's a question beyond my capabilities. But let me go to Okay, so I do have a body cam video to do where we'll sit and review that, but I also have 3 videos of cops being awesome. It's a new little series that I've accidentally created. So I'm going to do that first. So let's share the screen. We're on X now. As soon as it pops up here. All right. So first part of this series is the auditor versus cop. So I'm going to make this a little bigger. Get rid of that. All right.
Who said that the perfect First Amendment auditing video didn't exist?
Fuck you, man. I'm on there. I can touch what I want to if you got me on.
No, I'm in public.
I don't care. I don't
Yeah.
care. Me too. Me too.
He is not breaking the law. Leave him alone.
Really? I'm on this thing.
Leave him alone.
Well, they just want to sit out there and watch.
Yeah, they know what I'm doing.
What are you doing?
I'm just documenting in public. Why did you approach me? Thank you.
You like it in front of my business?
Huh? I'm just documenting, getting people coming and going.
They have HIPAA rights, you know.
Not out here. Maybe in there.
They have a right. You're invading their right to privacy. You're subjecting yourself to a tort. I'm a lawyer. I'm telling you, subject yourself.
If you're a lawyer, you suck, dude.
I suck?
Yeah. I'm in public.
You can't record people going in and out of the hospital because that is a HIPAA violation.
I suggest is do not engage with him. If you don't want to be on his video camera, do not engage with him. It's that simple. He's on public property.
That's how he's been talking to all of us. Just like that.
This is crazy.
That's what you want. This is what you want.
Ma'am, I'm just documenting. How about you highlight your business? There we go. He said I was exercising my First Amendment right. Oh, shit.
This one was straight out of the...
Love it. Love it. That is that is amazing, but we're not done. Hold on. We're not done. Let me go to the next one.
If you can touch me, I'm going to kick the
Exactly what it says. You can say that to me?
Yeah, don't touch them. I'm gonna get you kicked.
So you're protecting these guys?
No, no, protecting them.
Yeah,
Protecting
you
their
are.
amendment rights, sir. That's my job. It's like I'm protecting yours.
He's threatening you.
You're really wanting to make this a day for yourself.
You tried to touch me, sir. Thanks, man. I do appreciate it.
You're awesome.
I love you.
Yeah, this is my first time.
I love you so much. Thank you for upholding your oath to the Constitution.
One was luck.
All right. And then, where's the next one? There it is.
Ability auditor.
I'm Neil Victor. I'm the owner.
Hi, good to meet you.
Good to meet you. I've got patients who are complaining about these guys harassing them in the parking lot, standing behind their vehicle, taking pictures of their license plate, the pictures, all sorts of things. We follow HIPAA. We're HIPAA compliant. Standing behind their vehicle, taking pictures of their license plate, the pictures, all sorts of things. We follow HIPAA. We're HIPAA compliant because it's patients and prescriptions. They're violating that. And more importantly, they keep coming on private property. I would love to have them trespass. I'd like to have their names, IDs, and names so that we know who they are because I've got other locations and I want them banned from all of them if that's possible. I get where they're doing.
Do you have an Oxford?
No, I've only got one in Oxford, but I've got them throughout the state, so I need to let all my other employees know.
The way that would go for...
I'll handle the state stuff, but I just need names, information, so that I can let everybody else know. But that being said, good luck. I know they've got a constitutional right to do this. I'm not going to oppose it, but they can't bother our patients. They can't take pictures of their faces. They can't take pictures of their license plates. All of it's HIPAA compliant, what we do here. So have at it.
All right. See, there's a running theme with those videos there. So it was really fun. I really wanted to show them all back to back before we really started getting into it. But you'll see there's a common theme. One of people trying to weaponize the police against stuff like this when people don't know their own rights. So in that, seeing that stuff, I know there's a lot of people that they just get up in arms about First Amendment auditors. And in my opinion, I look at it as exercising a beautiful freedom in a country that is so free that you can hold your own government accountable through the First Amendment without fear of retaliation. And in these instances, the cops were on top of their game, and it was awesome. And I've seen this so many times. I just don't have examples to show. That's what frustrates me is. So now I'm trying to show as many examples like this as I can, because these cops did outstanding. On that last one, the part you don't get to see, because it was a very long video and it didn't happen in like I would have had to really break that video up, and people would have accused me of chopping it up in a way that benefits what we're trying to say. So, but if you watch the whole video, cop does the same thing. He educates the caller, which was the dispensary owner, who people don't understand. If you want to protect HIPAA, it's your responsibility to protect it from the public seeing it in a publicly accessible area. Like, these guys were outside. They can film whatever the fuck they want in a public area. It's your job to protect that HIPAA information, not theirs.
It's the same with, protecting CJIS information on the laptops that they use in law enforcement cars. It's if I was a patrol officer in uniform right now working a beat and I'm having to run somebody and I've got a Joe citizen behind my shoulder and he sees it, whatever, that's on me, the operator of the computer. I mean, it's up to me to keep that data private, except for the case going to the defense and the court and everything else.
Yep, absolutely. What do you got, Vaughn?
It's more complicated than I think people think. So study your local jurisdictions and laws, because if it becomes at the federal level, HIPAA applies to the hospital personnel, not private citizens. So private citizens are not going to be violating HIPAA, right? So he's like, we're HIPAA compliant. HIPAA, okay, fine. Then don't be disclosing people's privacy information. But if you're standing in a public place, filming public access without directing it at an individual, without harassing, intimidating, or terrorizing an individual, then the starting point would be that's generally acceptable. I would put likely to keep yourself protected from that, you might want to have a good lens on your camera and do it where you're not somewhere near the entrance of the building that you're filming. It would make it very more difficult for them to argue you're interfering, right? All the publicly available stuff. And then you also look at your jurisdictions about whether filming is okay versus audio, because some places it's two-party consent. You can't audio record people unless it's a one-party consent state, even in the public, right? And so you want to know whether you're two parties consent or one party consent, and then get away from the federal law, because now we got the FACE Act, right? And so the federal FACE Act, if you are filming in a way that interferes or intimidates people from access to abortion clinics, your mere presence is there and you're standing in the way on the sidewalk, whatever, there's in some times and place, you're going to be arrested and federally convicted for obstructing access to an abortion clinic, if that's the type of clinic. So you looked at a hospital, a clinic, an abortion clinic specifically, it's going to have very different rules. And so it's not as clear as I'm in a public place, I can film. That's not the only question. It's, are you interfering, harassing, intimidating, and blocking access to? So you can mitigate all that if you want to just be in the public and documenting stuff by not documenting it right in front of the door.
Right.
Some of these guys, it's not unreasonable for, like, hey, we're trying to protect our patients, right? That's not unreasonable. And the balance between your First Amendment rights and these people trying to have access to good medical care. I'll tell you, if you want to know the rationale, how many jurisdictions tell their police they have to turn off their body cameras during First Amendment rallies? You have rallies and protests, and the police are not allowed to have body cams because it has a chilling effect on people's willingness to participate in the protest.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, 100% it's a thing.
I haven't heard of that.
Yeah. And so what it is like, we wanted body cams on cops I call them body cam babysitters, because we wanted to catch the cops' audio. We wanted to see what the cop was doing. But overwhelmingly, it was catching the other side of the equation. And it was being used as evidence against the people who were ultimately complaining. In the highest percentage of cases, the body cam exonerates the police.
Right.
And so when you got in these protests where these people were wanting to wear masks, they wanted to join the group mentality. The politicians actually, who were supporting the rallies, the protests, and the riots, were like, we don't want our cops filming these people. So they can't use their body cameras because it would have a chilling effect on people's willingness to participate in their First Amendment rights. So that's the same rationale. They're like, we don't want you out here filming our patients because it's going to have a chilling effect on them. They're not going to want to come to our clinic. or especially if it's an abortion clinic or if it's a STD testing site, right?
Yeah.
You got to show your testing card, and this is where you go to get your blood drawn for your testing card. So it's not unreasonable for them to be concerned about it. The cops, I think, handled it right. It's a balance of, hey, you have a right to be here, but they also have a right to be pretty frustrated with you out here. So, let's just make sure we're not intimidating, harassing, interfering. Let's make sure you're not blocking access. If you do that, I'll talk to him each time for you and let him know, hey, he's not doing those things. But then you got to also worry about, that's federal stuff. If you look at the state stuff, you may have very specific state laws that say, nope, you don't get to do this because there's a buffer zone around clinics. So they can do a time, place, manner regulation from a First Amendment standpoint. You don't have just the right to protest anywhere. That's why we get protest licenses, right? And so a state can pass a law that says there is a buffer. You don't get to stand, and some have done this, right? You don't get to stand within a certain number of feet from cops, right? Other ones are like, you don't get to stand within a certain number of feet from the entry of a clinic, right? So make sure if you're going to participate in one of these exercises where you test the limits of your constitutional rights, don't forget there's state laws as well. You'll be testing the limits of your state compliance. So those are my thoughts on that. I'm glad these cops were not overreacting and they're willing to engage with the business owners, but it's not as neat as can I or can't I?
Yeah. I was great. I was very happy to see those videos, and now I'm making a little series out of it. Cause again, I think the best way that we help, part of the show, this is what we try to do, is we don't just try to educate citizens. We try to educate cops as well. And if we can get, cause we've seen officers screw the pooch on these calls, me and Banning especially, hundreds of times. They just improper training or outright ego is an issue. Don't know the law. I mean, just all sorts of problems. So if we can give them good examples to show them, like, hey, this is how that call should go. It should be very quick and painless. My favorite was the guy that's just sitting on his PA, and just going, and the way he went at that self-proclaimed lawyer. I don't know if he was an actual lawyer or not.
Not a very good one, according to the film crew.
Yeah. So him going over there.
There was do you guys remember the Phelps in Topeka, Kansas? The Phelps family. They picketed the Clinton's funeral. They held the signs that say God hates fags, and that was on their sign.
Oh, that was the
Phelps. Yeah.
No, yeah, but they were called something.
Yeah, well, their compound, they were a cult, is what they were.
Yeah, they had. I can't remember what they called them though. Yeah, there was some sort of.
Well, yeah, we had to provide protection for them, so it would be a specialty detail. So the uniformed police had to go out there, and they had the most hateful freaking signs. They had the most hateful message. People thought they were idiots, white trash, trailer park idiots, and it was like, no, these are lawyers. They were highly intelligent. They argued in front of the Supreme Court. They just had a very hateful message. And if you crossed them, they would put your picture on a billboard and walk it around. But we would have to go out there because if the police weren't there protecting their right to picket and their right to their First Amendment rights, people would try to run them over. Even while we were there, people tried to run them over with their cars. And so this is a very low level version. Cops have been protecting First Amendment rights.
Westboro Baptist Church.
Yeah, that's their church, the Westboro Baptist Church.
Yeah, that's who they were. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was in Topeka, Kansas. So that was my stomping grounds. And we all had to pull special duty detail to protect them. One of them worked in the jail. He was a corrections officer. And, you talk about imperfect people. They were all, to a person, really nice people to speak with and talk to. They just had very deeply held religious beliefs, and they thought it was their job to be on the front line of this messaging. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't. Anyway, the short version is we had to sit there and do what this cop was doing, which is basically like, no one could believe they had a legal right to do this. And we're like, yeah, they absolutely do. They've got their permits. They're staying on public property. They're not interfering with businesses. You may not like their sign, but they have a right to have them.
Yeah, there's a really good, I found it actually. I'm going to show this video. It's one of my favorite things.
This Westboro?
Yes, it's Westboro. Let me share the screen here.
What year?
2018, it looks like.
Oh, yeah.
So they try to punch this guy. He tries to sucker punch a Westboro Baptist Church person. So let me biggie size. There we go. So great. Love it. I gotta stop it before I get in trouble for the music, but oh, that's so good.
I've seen that video. I didn't know that was Westboro though.
Yeah. That's good stuff. He just catches his punch midair. He originally was trying to hit him with a skateboard, I think is what he's trying to do, and then he comes up for that sucker punch on that guy.
Yeah, they've had their cases taken all the way to the Supreme Court, and they've actually argued them themselves. I can't remember which Phelps, Margaret Phelps, and they're really highly intelligent people. They won. They won their argument.
Yeah,
they won it.
Yeah, that's I think it's the civil rights lawyer on YouTube that says freedom is scary. Deal with it. Like, you might not like the message, but damn it, hey, that's what it is. Fuck your feelings. I'm a constitutionalist myself, and people, they ask, well, how do you tell me these First Amendment auditors don't piss you off? Yeah, some of them do. Some of them are assholes. I hate the way they do it.
I just got to say real quick, Eric, did anybody else get the vibe watching that guy catch the punch? Does anybody else remember Techno Viking? I don't know if people. I mean,
the guy that had the water. He gets the water bottle, just jamming down the road. Yeah.
I just got the Technical Viking vibe on that watching it.
Yeah. Techno Viking that's legend, bro. That's some old Vine stuff right there.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's get to the one video that I've got. Haven't watched this. None of us have, as far as I know. Vaughn, obviously, we haven't gotten to anything on that particular video. I didn't know if that's you wanted to talk about it. Is that something you wanted to get to?
I think we should do a special show on it when a time. I may be getting a call from that defense attorney.
Okay, I was gonna say I didn't want to ruin anything that you had going on. So
no, I mean it's I've already put out. I did a video on it that got released. It's got I don't know how many within a week. It had 30,000 views. I don't even know if that's good, but
yeah,
they were trying to get ahead of the negative media, and all I did was say, here's how we would analyze it. We didn't have the officer statement yet, but I just started doing imminent threat analysis and what cops think about it, what cops are trained to consider. And the cop was ultimately fired. Within a couple of weeks, he was fired.
Yeah.
So now we'll see what the criminal and civil cases look like. But that's a high profile one, and hopefully I'll find out this week.
Well, when we find out, then we'll get you back on and see what the deal is. When you can talk about it, that is.
I'll start charging you my hourly rate.
Cool. I'll just put it on Banning's credit card.
We'll be good for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, right. All right, let's jump in. Okay, so for those that don't know, on the body cam review stuff, basically what we do is we throw a video up that none of us have seen. If one of us happens to have seen it, we'll own up to it and say we've seen it. But the point is to not watch the video and then go back through and be like, well, they should have done this, should have done that. No, what we do is we pretend we are the cop in the body cam video. That way you can kind of get the mindset of where our training is. And even though Vaughn and Banning and I have never trained together, you can start to either see the similarities or some of the differences in training that we have. We may all have different paths that we would take, but it all ultimately usually gets to the same goal. And you can see where maybe an officer takes a different path on the video than what we would have taken, and you see how it may get them in trouble. Or maybe we were wrong and they seen something we couldn't see, and you'll see as we go. It's kind of fun. Be sure to ask questions and all of that stuff, but let's see what we got here. We pause often too. Looks like we're looking for somebody. Oh, okay. Actually, I have seen this video, so I haven't seen it from here. I've seen it a little bit later in the video, so I'll keep going.
Mr. Otto, he's in the back. Get out! Shit! Fuck! Get out the car! Get the fuck out! Fuck! Get out! Shit! You better stop! Stop! Fucking...
Okay, so I'm going to stop it here so far. Obviously, I know what happens in this. I've seen it. So I'll let you two talk. What do you think so far?
Go ahead, Vaughn. I'll let you take this first.
Yeah, I mean, the only question is he facing an imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury? And that question's been asked and answered so many times that, yes, being flung from a moving vehicle it's reasonable to believe you're facing a threat of serious bodily injury and or death. We have these cases fairly regularly. I don't know the speed, but you can start to hear the panic in the officer's voice. You can start to see some acceleration. Also, the obstacles, you're gonna get peeled off by one of those telephone poles in the alley. All that's gonna be bad. Yeah, Barnes v. Felix. Anyone? Well done.
Yeah, I think it directly applies to exactly what we're talking about, which Barnes v. Felix did not address or give any sort of inclination on what is it called?
Officer created jeopardy.
Yes, thank you. Officer created jeopardy.
Yeah.
So let's keep going. There's a passenger. And right now, me as the cop, I mean, if I'm in his shoes, I'm either one, I'm looking for the opportunity when I can jump off, because I'm going to, if it presents itself. And two, doing exactly what he's doing right now. Like, just trying to plead. Just at least let me get the fuck out of here. What else do you do? I could only imagine seeing Banning's big ass on the side of a car. How would that go for you, Banning?
I mean, my whole thing is, we're up. How bad is this dude he's going after? That's one thing I don't know right now.
I don't know.
Can we get him later? Can we,
Yeah, he obviously knows his name. He said it.
Right. I would just like to know the extent of the situation on what put us here on the side of a friggin' tow rig. Anyway, officers operate differently. And if I have a window in my way, I don't know how many times I've just reached up and just raked the window, just ripped it out of the deal. But
not all of a sudden that's strong, Banning.
Well, no, I mean, it's just, when you need to get something done, I mean, there's lives are in danger. I mean, I'd hate to be the officer that put myself up here on this. If the car starts moving like that, and I've had it happen to me in situations, not on a tow truck, I had it on an 18-wheeler. I jumped off that MFR. Because what happens when things get moving, and you don't want to be a friggin' bug attached to the side of it. So anyway, I mean, to each his own on their opinion of this. I'm hoping I'm going to be parked close, and if it's a bad enough person to where the pursuit has to go on, then that's what's going to occur. So,
yep. Truth from Time, version 3. Said, so they're reviewing these videos and seeing if what the police did is correct or if they would have acted differently. Kind of. That is a part of what we do. Another part of what we do is we try to explain police training, why we think the way we think. So, for example, on this video right now, Truth from Time, one of the things that I would love to give you the perspective of is from the time a person gets into the academy, they are trained against all nature that they have been trained their entire lives to run from. They've always been everybody tells you to run from danger. Like, that is just nature. And when you go through the academy, you are actually trained to run towards it, which is just counter. So imagine going through a 4-month, 6-month, 8-month, just depends on where you're at, academy, to there's a bad guy, go get them. And I think that's what you're seeing here. He was going for this person, looking for this person. All of a sudden, he's in the vehicle And everything that they've been trained through the academy has been to go after said person. And that's what they did. And then they put themselves in a bad position. So it isn't necessarily that they intentionally do this stuff. It's sometimes the training has been flipped in their mind to the point where they are supposed to go towards the bad thing. And that's what he did. He went towards the bad thing, and it kind of put him in a pickle. So one of the things that we do on these is we try to give you all these different perspectives and let you make up your own mind on what's going on how you perceive it.
The other thing is there's a non-conscious predator-prey drive. When someone runs from you change them. When someone when someone grapples with you grab them. And so we're trying to figure out why cops chase cars. And I don't know if you guys have ever done it. A car took off from me, I chase it. I see videos all the time. Cars take off, people are chasing it on foot. It's not rational. It's this non-conscious. Somebody takes off out of a car and takes off running, you chase them. And even when you sit there and tell people, your cop buddies, like, hold fast, felony car stop or high-risk car stop, you're supposed to be triggering to everybody, hey, if the guy takes off running, we're not chasing him because we have an uncleared multi-passenger car. Yep. And we don't want to ideally run past an uncleared multi-passenger car. Sometimes you just got to let somebody go for officer safety. Doesn't mean you can't chase them. It's just not safe to do it, right? So it's still your discretion. In this case, you want to stop that threat before it gets to a pace where you can't jump off without getting injured. Yeah. Right. So we see these cases where you'll see the officer shoot the guy really early, like before it even gets up to the most dangerous speeds, because we don't wait until it gets to the dangerous speeds. If they're already non-compliant, they're already accelerating with you on the car, they get shot early. They get stopped early. And so at this case, if you're watching the rearview mirror, I don't know if he's running these stop signs and moving at pace, but you see those buildings are moving quick now. So jumping off is probably no longer an option without serious bodily injury. And we got cases where to answer that other guy's question, I'm trying not to evaluate this and say whether the officer was right or wrong, because we never have enough information to do that. Mm-hmm. The officers are experiencing the event, and we're just watching it in our air-conditioned offices, and we have no consequences for getting it wrong. So I'm in no position to say whether he was right or wrong based on his experience at the moment. But we do think there's value in saying, here's what cops are trained to consider, and here from a human performance standpoint are the reality of these type of events. And so we just saw this, in the Scott v. or the Barnes v. Felix, where the officer got on the running board because the car started taking off, and instead of pushing away, he gets close, which is oftentimes a non-conscious response. It's counter. If you think about it rationally, it doesn't make sense to jump on a car that's getting ready to drive away, right? It's not safe to do that, but it's almost non-conscious. And so in this case, I'm watching that thing go by. I don't know at this point why this driver hasn't been shot already. Like, you've got to get, and then that's also dangerous because now you got an unguided missile, and hopefully you can reach in and grab that steering wheel and at least keep it on track from not, because you could still die, right?
Yeah.
So the dangerousness of, and you got to make this point as often as you possible. This cop is now only facing bad options. None of us can say, well, here's the good option that he should have done in hindsight. He only has bad options. Do I jump off? Do I shoot the driver? Do I hope the driver slows down and stops? Has no idea. It's all predictive best efforts or educated best guesses. And so I'm just waiting. At this point, I'm waiting for why has this guy not shot this person yet to stop the threat? Because I think it's well settled that he is being threatened with serious bodily injury or death right now.
Yep. All right, let's keep going.
At that pace. Oh, blowing through stop signs too.
Yep.
I can't jump off.
Very good articulation for the camera right there. I can't jump off. You can hear the stress in his voice. He's in a deadly force situation. I think it's also important to note nobody has a fucking clue where this cop's at right now. He can't get on the radio. unless he's got a body cam where a real-time crime center can keep track of him if they're even looking. Like now where I'm at, yeah, I'd be able to keep track of this guy, but not every department has that option. So
I'm going to fucking shoot you.
you can see the smoke coming out the back.
He's giving warnings.
He did it. I don't stop. Stop it now. I don't stop. So you don't gotta fucking shit. Stop it. I don't want to shoot you. Stop. Are you done? Shots fired. Sudden medical.
All right.
And special thanks to police activity for
Yeah. All that was for police activity on YouTube. Forgot. Thank you, Manny. Yeah. So, me personally, I don't disagree. I think he had. I mean, I understand why he used deadly force. I mean, he definitely tried to get this guy to do something else for quite a long time before he went to that. He didn't just, like Vaughn was saying earlier, he didn't resort to it right away. I think he made it more than reasonable effort to get this guy to pull over, to at least let him off. I think maybe if he'd have stopped and slowed down, the cop would have jumped off. But the guy wasn't having it. He started to slow down around that corner. I think as he started to accelerate again, that's when the officer's like, he's just going to take off again. And he pulled the trigger. That's what it seemed like to me. What do you got, Banning?
This is a tough one, man, because I mean the body camera is showing such a small, and that's on a lot of cases, most cases, it's showing so little. And then again, we don't know what brought us there to begin with. For me, that's just important. It's hard to weigh in on an opinion on this without knowing everything. I mean, Vaughn can probably answer it a lot better than I can, but he may have more information on it. I'm not sure.
What you got, Vaughn?
I don't. I got to go back to when people resist with a level that is disproportionate to the suspected crime. Let's say it's a tag violation, right? And you're like, hey, I need to pull up, and they put it in drive, and you're like, no,
not on my
Next
watch.
thing you know, you're stuck on this thing, and you're like, oh, and it's too late. You're there. A split second, you're there. The underlying offense no longer matters. It's aggravated assault LEO now.
Yeah.
As soon as you take off with someone on your car, it's ag assault LEO. That's a felony. It's the early shoplifting or tag light violation, whatever. It no longer matters. You're not shooting them for the shoplifting, right? You're shooting them because they're threatening your life, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you could tell this cop did not want to shoot this person.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And I think what is interesting about this is if he would have shot him right off the bat, like, no, we're not doing this, bang, bang. He's shooting him because of the possibility of everything else we saw. He's shooting him because he might accelerate, because he might run through red lights, because he might run recklessly. And I'm not going to be the one to test this theory with my life. I can use a reasonable amount of force to stop the imminent threat right now, not actual threat, but imminent threat. And so you don't have to bank on the driver's goodwill. They're already engaging in incredibly reckless conduct by driving with you on it. But we had the benefit in this case of a lot of bad driver action, a lot of reckless driving, running through stop signs. I don't know about how many stop lights, but I saw running straight through open intersections, right through stop signs. I'm hoping this guy has no trouble with this case, as terrible it is to use deadly force. Because I think it was one person who was the passenger saying, just jump off. I think it was the passenger yelling, just jump off. Like, please don't shoot him, just jump off. Like, I get it, you're in a bad spot, but if you can avoid shooting him and just jump off, please do that. But that might be just my interpretation of it. What do we got up here? Who's our Steve?
Steve said, regarding Barnes v. Felix, after remand to the 5th from SCOTUS, same judge, two apparent opinions. When the panel sorry, it moved on me. First heard this matter, Judge Higginbotham deemed it plain that the use of lethal force against this unarmed man preceded any real threat to Officer Felix's safety. Verse, Felix mounted the door sill with one foot, placing his body partially inside the car. Dang it, it moved again on me. Partially inside the car. Inside the car. Then as the vehicle accelerated, Felix stepped on both feet and yelled, "Don't fucking move," twice. In the little time frame Felix had to act, and with little he knew about Barnes, Felix did not act unreasonably in protecting himself and possibly others. Felix did exactly what he was trained to do. End quote. So that was from the judge. And then Nina said, Von Kliem, I might have a question for you about what you said about that video. It took me back to the volunteer program I did with my sheriff's department. Local PD, SD operates my city's PD. I don't.
Sheriff's department operates the city's PD.
I'm not sure.
Okay, what's the question?
Yeah, what's the question, Nina?
Does she have to pay $5?
Wade said the only problem that I had was the cop muzzled the passenger many times. Well, he was hanging out of a vehicle that was moving at an accelerated speed, so I understand that, but he could. You wouldn't be happening to drinking a fine Red Bull over there, would you, Vaughn? You are. You always have wings.
Red Bull gives me wings.
I figured that.
It does not help me open the window to my 8th floor office on those days where I wish the window would open.
Yeah, I got you, Manny. I was gonna say it's better than being the always with wings, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are you eating there, buddy? A little protein?
Well, pure protein.
Yeah, buddy, that's what I'm talking about. I'm a big fan of the chocolate chip cookie dough.
I want to hear this question.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting for Nina. I'm just looking through the comments while we wait for Nina. Did officer put himself in jeopardy?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. And the answer is obviously, if you look at jeopardy, I look at it as intent, ability, means, and opportunity. Bad guy had the intent, the officer didn't do that. The bad guy had the ability, the officer didn't do that. Bad guy had the means, the officer didn't do that. The question is, did the officer provide the opportunity? And why officer created jeopardy doesn't work is because officers always provide opportunity when bad guys want to exploit it in an assault. They don't try to assault you if there's not an opportunity to do it. That means if by virtue of just stopping him, by standing close to him, by getting in a position where he can access you with a gun, there's no limiting principle. The officers are paid to confront bad guys. And in order to confront bad guys, you have to place yourself in a position of risk. If the other person has the intent, ability, and means, the fact that you put yourself in that position of risk absolutely provides the opportunity. But in an officer-created jeopardy theory, and it's just an academic theory, I don't think it's going to really make it past the Supreme Court because there's no limiting principle and because they've consistently said officers have to confront bad guys. And the other thing is the theory of liability is what's suspect-created jeopardy? What's the differentiation between the suspect creating the jeopardy and the officer creating the jeopardy? And they don't try to delineate that. So if you look at a lot of liability analysis, it's, was there a subsequent intervening event? Sure, the officer was in a position to be harmed, but had the suspect complied, his failure to comply, the bad driver action, all of that created the intent, ability, and means. And that does not allow them to shift culpability from the suspect to the officer. So yeah, it was dangerous, but policing is dangerous.
Yeah. Nina said, Sheriff's Department situation, Terry stop on a domestic violence in a vehicle. It was a married couple. Husband runs and hides behind a dumpster. Husband has a bottle in one hand. He's drunk. Had something else in the other. Couldn't tell. Okay. So we haven't got to the question yet, or did we? Waiting for the question.
And while that truth from time up there, we don't mind covering that. Second time he's asked, just in reference to what, and a couple other people asked too, why didn't you taser first? And if people kind of understand how a taser operates, I mean, the guy's foot is already over the gas pedal, he's accelerating. And when you go to that, Eric could probably answer this very well. But go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say, basically, one, taser depends on spread. So I want you guys to consider where he was at. He was at point blank range. Depending on the taser that he has, it's highly unlikely he's got the new Taser 10, as those aren't fully deployed yet. The Taser 10 is an individual shot, so you can control your spread. So I would aim high, then aim low, and then I'd get a good spread, and that would cause the neuromuscular incapacitation that I'm looking for. However, if he's got a standard Taser 7, which is most common right now, he needs distance to create the spread that he would need to get the neuromuscular incapacitation to begin with, because that's the purpose of the taser. So even if he were to tase this guy, it's only going to piss him off and just hurt. It's not going to do it's not going to do what it's designed to do. But let's say he did get some freak shot and was able to get good spread. Now you got a dude that's locked up and his foot's going to just push through the accelerator all the way to the ground. Is that the response that you want? No. So the taser would actually probably exacerbate things and make it way worse, in my opinion.
Let's say you get neuromuscular incapacitation. It's 5-second ride.
Yeah.
What are you doing at 5 seconds? It's not slowing the car down.
Right. Yeah.
You're just going to be right back to where you started. Yep. Or he locks up and turns that steering wheel and crashes that car.
And has
I don't
no
want
control.
that happening.
Yeah.
I suppose you can try to reach in and grab the steering wheel, but you have to let go of his coat to do it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of, but this is exactly, you guys, this is exactly where these conversations become so important. You have these in classrooms with cops. You just war game it just like this. Well, what could we have done this? Well, let's think about the consequences. Would that have improved your tactical position? What are the risks? And you just go back and forth like this as you build your file folders, because a lot of people don't think of the second or third order effects. And then you do the legal underpinnings, like we don't tase people in pools because that would be deadly force. We don't tase people on the roof of a house because that would be deadly force. We don't tase people who are driving cars at high rates of speed because that would be deadly force. So the legal justification of using a taser against somebody driving at a high rate of speed is the same legal justification as shooting them. And so you go, well, which level of force is a quality of force that would immediately and decisively stop the threat? Is it the taser or the gun? Because police, like civilians, are authorized to use a quality of force to immediately and decisively stop the threat. The Supreme Court says you're not required to try lower levels of force and hope for the best, which in this case, if someone's threatening you with deadly force, you go to the taser. That's a lower level of force. Now, we do that to save people from the consequences of their own bad decisions. So if someone has a knife, we might have someone come out with a taser only if they have lethal coverage, someone else with a gun. Because if the taser doesn't work, you don't want to be in a position where you got to transition. You want somebody else to be able to immediately get those shots on. So cops do that to reduce the number of lawful shootings they engage in. Right. And people have got to get their brain wrapped around that. Cops engage and assume a lot of risk to reduce the number of lawful shootings. And that's one of the examples is why we started bringing tasers to knife fights. It's trying to save people from the consequences of their own bad decisions. Yes, a one-handed lapel choke could have been great.
Yeah, if you know how to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, one-handed lapel choke would have been very difficult. And that's coming from somebody that's done jiu-jitsu a long time.
Pappy talked about Cynthia Lee's article, Officer Created Jeopardy, and that's a great article. I point to it because she admits in that article there's no limiting principle. They have not figured it out at the academic level. She identifies either in the body or in footnotes why Officer Created Jeopardy is not going to work. And so I like her article. She was one of the early ones to advance that concept. There's a couple other ones out there, but she's in my backyard. So I think I've been reading that article for years and I actually like it. I hate her final, recommendations in it. I disagree with wholeheartedly, but she lays out precisely the fact that there is no limiting principle and those things have to be fleshed out through the courts. And you think about that and you go, great, but we're not doing that on the back of a police officer today. How do you flesh something out through the courts? while trying to hold an individual officer accountable to today's standards by advancing tomorrow's standards. So it's reform efforts, which by definition are not the current standards.
Yeah, and I just found out that guy was wanted for a parole violation, but it doesn't say what the parole violation is. So that makes a difference.
Constitutional country girl, you're exactly right. We don't train cops to jump on those trucks. It is non-conscious. I mean, you are just there and it's happening so fast. Even almost every time I've talked to a cop who did that, they'll say the same. I wasn't thinking. You're not thinking. It's a predator prey. They're trying to get away. You're trying to grab them to prevent it. And you don't think to yourself, it's like grabbing the tail of a tiger. You don't really think it through. Tiger takes off running from you. So you grab it and you're like, be careful what you catch.
Yeah.
It's that same non-conscious, and we try to break it. It's the same kind of non-conscious reaction you get when someone tries to pull a gun on you or pull a knife and you start to try to pull your gun at close quarters. Like, it makes no sense. You need to attack the weapon and disarm them because you're not going to beat them on the draw. And yet we do it all the time because that's the bad thing. And this is my bad thing stopper. So there's a lot of non-conscious things. And she's also talked about it is absolutely officer created jeopardy. Again, there is no such thing as officer created jeopardy. It's an academic theory that says, if you take it to its full argument, that if a police officer doesn't do enough to prevent their own assault, if they don't do enough to prevent their own risk and danger to themselves, then the suspect should not be held accountable for trying to kill the officer. And this has been actually argued in court now. If you stand too close to the bad guy and he punches you in the face, then you created the jeopardy because you shouldn't have been standing that close. It is the exact same argument, and that's not even an extreme.
Yeah.
We had a case where the officer drew his taser, and the guy tried to take the taser and was able to disarm the officer with the taser. And the experts came in who are big officer-created jeopardy advocates and actually work with and are cited by Cynthia Lee in her article. They argued that it was the officer's fault because he shouldn't have been standing so close because you don't do close quarter tasers. Well, of course you do. There's a close quarter cartridge for that. And now the new tasers is you can do, and you know this, Eric, if I'm close, if I don't get the initial spread, the drive stun will close the circuit.
No.
So I can hit them high. You don't get enough of a spread to get neuromuscular incapacitation. So then I could drive stun them or shoot them again at a lower point and get that closure.
Yeah. On the new one, they got rid of the drive stun function. So because everything's an individual shot, there's 10 shots. So on the Taser 10, there's 10 shots. So the idea is, you if you're close, just take the shot. Contact shot it, and it's a badass taser. It's the best thing they've ever come out with for sure. The success rate with it has been significantly increased. So it's very, very good stuff. But yeah. To Truth from time to time, he asked if that was a fatal shot, and yes, it was. So the cop shot him while being dragged along on the moving car. Yes. Yep. He was on the running boards, basically standing there trying to hold on. But yeah, he absolutely put himself in a bad position. But officer induced jeopardy is not a thing. Not yet. Who knows? You never know where the courts are going to go. But.
Yeah, and be careful with that. I mean, I would say if we're talking 1983 actions, constitutional level stuff, there are some states that are bringing negligence actions, and they're arguing that the officer's conduct was negligent, and therefore there's a civil cause of action. And so I've had attorneys get a hold of me and say, "Hey, we have attorneys who are giving up attorneys' fees, in which they would get in federal court, and going state negligence actions, and then looking at the policies and looking at officer created jeopardy theories and generally accepted police practices, which they just manufacture, as we've talked about before, to try to convince a jury that there was a standard of care that the officer deviated from." And this would likely be into that category. Like, was it reasonable for an officer to jump onto the running board? And you're going to have people explain it. One, it's not really a rational decision. And well, I don't know if it's ever a rational decision to jump on a running board of a car that's about to take off. But they will never. There's some, and again, looking at civil stuff, understand there are some jurisdictions where it's like comparative negligence. And they're going to say, well, if the suspect had a subsequent intervening event, they did something to cause their own harm, it breaks causality. You can't hold the officer accountable if the suspect did something like accelerate, right? Like put him in death or serious bodily injury. Other place they'll do like comparative negligence. Well, they'll say, well, the suspect's 80% liable for his own injuries, but we think the officer's 20%. So these arguments aren't completely irrelevant to the conversation. They are, because they're just changing the cause of action. But at a constitutional level, they haven't caught steam yet.
Gotcha. Somebody, Country Girl said, Eric, shout out Truth. He's new from UK. Okay, very cool. That makes sense. With all the questions, one, appreciate it. Joining us from the UK. We actually have had a UK cop on here before. One of the things we learned is that the UK cops, most of them, they carry their gun in the trunk of their vehicle. I even think they may carry their taser in the trunk of their vehicle. I don't fully remember that conversation we had. And it was kind of eye-opening. Matter of fact, the guy that we talked to, his partner was killed. And part of the problem that his partner was killed was because the bad guy did have a gun and they didn't have one with them. And while he was in the process of going back to the vehicle to get it, she was a female, was killed. So crazy stuff. So there are guns in the UK. Bad guys do have guns in the UK.
They seem to have an awful lot of knives.
Yeah, they definitely have knives. Another big problem too is being arrested for in the UK is for what you say on social media. They've had a lot of arrests. I mean, hundreds of arrests for saying stuff on social media. Now, there's been some outlier cases where some sheriffs have gotten a little rambunctious in the States and tried to make some arrests. They've made arrests, but it's been very few and far between, and the courts ultimately end up not supporting that sheriff. But yeah, it does happen here. Country Girl goes, "Where's Shell?" Talking about my mom, Michelle. I don't know. She didn't get on tonight, I guess. Maybe she's protesting the show. I don't know. She's tired. That would have been armed police. Standard police don't have guns. I'm just telling you what I remember. What he told me is that the UK police have guns, but they keep them in the trunk. But I don't remember if he said all of them have them or they don't. So I'll trust what you're telling me there, Truth. The UK has a weak freedom of expression protection, but no real freedom of speech. New Zealand cops also rarely armed. Crazy. Yeah. So, but we're at 3 hours, guys. We've been going. This is my cutoff time. Vaughn, do you have any closing thoughts, sir?
No, you guys. This is a great audience.
Yeah, they're fun. They're engaged the whole time, man. They don't stop.
I don't know if Vaughn thought or not, but Nina sent you a direct message on LinkedIn for the full question. She wasn't able to get it on this.
Yeah, everybody who's listening, please get a hold of me on LinkedIn. Send me a connection. We'll stay in touch. You'll see when I publish stuff on Force Science News or some of the other outlets I'm on. And you guys will get way ahead of the curve. You'll at least know my ideas and be ready to discuss them where I'm right or where I'm wrong. You guys, believe it or not, I open up all my stuff for public discussion. I just did another presentation, and what I try to do is put out my ideas of what are use of force principles, like that we can all agree on, what the law is that we can agree on. And I say, look, peer review it, beat me up, tell me if I missed a word, if there should have been a not there, tell me if I just got it. And this is the kind of feedback that for those of us who do this every day full time, this is the only way we can grow, right? Is to figure out how other people are thinking about these issues. Otherwise, we become that really that vacuum or whatever what do you call that thought bubble,
echo chamber.
Echo chamber. That's the word.
Yeah.
So anyway, a lot of good stuff. Get on me LinkedIn, read the stuff I'm doing. We have a conference coming up. We also have guys if you guys want to take our Force Science online training, get hooked up with me on LinkedIn. I'll get you a 20% discount on any of our self-paced online training courses. If you guys are listening to One Cop or 2 cops, 1 donut, just let me know that, and I'll send you guys a coupon code.
Hell yeah.
Eric should have put it up tonight, but I'll make sure he has it.
Yeah, you joined pretty last minute there, buddy.
Yeah. And wait, hold on. I joined last minute because I was invited last minute. Let's make
Excuse me. Excuse me. I sent you the link yesterday. Can you email it to me? It's literally sitting right in front of you on your phone. You just copy, paste, send on an email to yourself.
Yeah, you know, that's Uber. That's Uber comfort. I'm Uber black. Just
fucking diva. I text. I'm like, this fucking diva. Can you email it? I just texted to you. Email it to yourself.
You know, I heard your voice when I said that too, because I was trying to get IT stuff taken care of, and I'm like, hey, one of these guys will just email me real quick, and then I'm like, I already hear Eric saying, it's on your phone. Email it to yourself. So
yeah. I was literally taking a shit when you sent that too. I just told Banny, I was like, hey, I got to go to the can real quick. Then you sent that. I was like, I'm not at a computer right now. You're going to have to email this to him.
Hey, you guys are doing a great job getting some great experts on here just in the flipping chat box. I mean, you guys I saw 3-4 different people who you would love to have as guests. They're not gonna analyze stuff the same way I do. We sit in each other's classes. We have these discussions. Reasonable people can disagree, and you'll see that when we do these. We do expert roundtables, and just bounce these ideas off and try to see where we fit if we're in the reasonable range.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing a lot of great names on there. So well done.
Yep. One of the things that people have been pushing out too, Vaughn, that we really want to get going, and I agree with this, is constitutional training for police. Because we've had this discussion. I've had some of the Blue to Gold guys on here. Anthony Bandiero has been on here as well. And we talked. I said, hey, when's the last time that you got any sort of constitutional training? Academy. That's what we all said. Academy. When did you get any other constitutional training other than that?
Yeah,
we never do.
Ultimately, it's trial and error when your cases are either make it through preliminary, and I mean this seriously. You learn by going to your preliminary hearings or motion to suppress and find out whether the search was good or not, and then your attorney's telling you, "Here's what you could have done better." I mean, you learn on the job a lot of that.
Right.
Unfortunately, most of the time it's hyper technical stuff. It's not malicious.
Yeah.
You're just wrong, right? You guys, I've shared that with you before, but hey, it's late. I'll tell everybody, thank you guys for staying as long as you guys did. I hope those who are watching it afterwards. Also, this applies to you guys. Hook up with me on LinkedIn. Let me get you that coupon code. The only cost of admission is hooking up with me on LinkedIn. It's Vaughn Kliem. Make sure, like Banning, it's KLIEM. I before E, or you're not going to find me.
I was just testing to see if you were paying attention.
Yeah. You passed the test, Vaughn. Way to go. You know how to spell your own name. Good job, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. We will get this up on the audio as well. If you didn't get a chance to watch it, you're not one to watch this stuff. But other than that, guys, have a good night and thanks for tuning in. Later.
Good night.
Appreciate you all.